When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
Yes, hit that beat indeed. What is going on, everyone? Welcome, Argonauts. Welcome, everybody, to day 59 of Esper Genesis Stormfall. It's good to see everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to a Friday night stream. I'm sorry that we're getting underway a little bit late. We had several things that we had to attend to variously as players and DM and stuff like that. You might have heard I'm moving, and so things have been a little crazy around here. So I apologize, but we are live and moving and set to go, and I am excited to present, as always, Esper Genesis, which is sponsored by Alligator Alley Entertainment. And before we go any further, just a couple of reminders here about ways to support us on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow us here on the channel. That is always appreciated. Please check out our YouTube channel with !ArvTube. That is our YouTube channel where I will post past broadcasts of this and many other streams. And again, this is the thing that we're trying to gradually build up and support. Thank you for the follow, Johan, or I think it's Johan Macaulay, I believe. Thank you. So join us over at the YouTube channel if you can, because we're trying to get subscribers over there as well. It's free to do that, but it is going to be a big help to us going forward as we continue to increase our numbers there. Also, please consider jumping on board with our Discord channel. We now have, I think, something on the order of 200 28 or 29 people over on the Discord, which is really awesome. So please join, get on board with that. That is also free, and you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. That's !ArvCord. And of course, the website for all of this, actually the tweet first, the Twitter is !ArvTweets, where I tweet about various things, including when I'm going to be going live and different stuff like that. And of course, the website for all of this is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !Arv Shop is the merchandise area where you can get Infinity and Beyond stuff, where you can get Adventures of Middle-earth stuff, and Esper Genesis stuff as well. Exclamation point, again, that is !Arv, arvaneleron.com for the website, but !Arv Shop, there it is. I was like, what? Arv what? Arv Shop. !Arv Shop for the merchandise area. The Patreon is !Arvtreon, sitting at 22 patrons, $2.34 per month. Really good stuff that you can get for yourself, including a copy of one of my band's albums, including an epic poem written about you, epic character backgrounds, and things like that. But also stuff that you can get as well to support the channel as we move up towards channel goals, another Arvanaut Idol contest, a talisman tournament, different things like that. So you can jump on board and support us with that with the Patreon. Again, also you can get inspirations to help the players. And by the way, as a reminder to everybody, today is the last, I believe, tabletop game that we're playing this month. And so that means if you've got these inspirations, now's the time to pull them out and use them, because they all reset in March. So you'll want to make sure that you do that today if you want to help out these poor players. I'm sure they're not poor. I'm sure it'll be great. What's the problem? Everything is going to be fine. Anyway, that's the Patreon. And of course, the sub button there will allow you to subscribe to the channel. You can get inspirations to help the players as well. Also custom sub badges and various emotes and stuff like that, which you can use everywhere across Twitch as well. And that would be very appreciated if you could do that too. And that is going to lead us to the publishing stuff. Icarus is information about my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. More details about Athos coming soon. Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. Again, by Alligator Alley Entertainment. Those books have been, the print books have been sitting in U.S. Customs now for, I think, 45 days now. Just sitting in a box on a dock. And it's incredibly frustrating. I cannot even tell you how frustrating it is for them just to be sitting there. Never again should we do anything with Europe. I'm just kidding. But it is really frustrating. And so, yeah, COVID, things, customs. But the digital versions of these are already available and have been for many months over at DriveThruRPG. So if you're able to jump on board to help us with that, that would definitely be appreciated. And you can get a copy of the 5e adventure and sourcebook with contributions from many luminaries across the field. And of course, a adventure that is made by yours truly and was run originally at the Gen Con Writer Symposium over 3 consecutive years. So that is something from Alligator Alley, which of course sponsors this show. And last but certainly not least in that score is Grayshade KS. That is my Grayshade Kickstarter, which is launching in the middle of next month, March 16th. I'm very excited to be able to give more details about that, and those are on the way. So we're only a few weeks away from that launch, and that is very exciting. So I cannot wait to talk more about that. My Grayshade novels, a board game, a tabletop role-playing game, an audiobook. There's a lot that's going to be associated with this, so I am excited. Exactly, a Rudnell, right? Sitting in a box in the bay. People paid, yeah, we all still wait. The great Otis Redding knew. He knew even back then, Arudno. So yes, that's the deal with that. And so that's the deal with the publishing stuff. And finally, as always, BLM, Black Lives Matter, continues to be critical and true, that we affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives and protecting the same. So please make sure that you click that for link information about resources, education, and of course places to donate, because it's really important. Hey, what's up, Sticker Glue? And of course, Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others if they need help. Very important to reach out to others if you need help as well. Quick note about schedule. We've got Esper Genesis going on tonight. Tomorrow, which is going to be the not quite final, but close stream of February, that is going to be me with more of Inkle Sorcery 3. So anyone who's been playing that with me knows that that's been a ton of fun. I'm very excited to continue that. So that's going to be happening tomorrow, probably starting around 7:30 p.m. Eastern is what it's looking like. And then on Sunday, we are going to have a special event, and it's going to be actually a special event with Speculate, or associated with Speculate, which is really, really cool. It is a one-shot, and I want to find actually the I want to find the tweet. There we go. I want to find the tweet that our good friend Mike Underwood put out because this is really important. There we go. So let me link you to that. This is this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Mike is going to be GMing a special one-shot of Blades in the Dark. Many folks who have been watching this for a while know that we have a regular Speculate Twitch channel campaign, GM by Brandon O'Brien. But this is going to be a special one-shot of Blade in the Dark set in the world, a special one-shot, which is set in the world of M.A. Carrick's The Mask of Mirrors. It's the first book of the Rook and Rose epic fantasy trilogy. And that, by the way, is the combined forces of Marie Brennan and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. I don't know I think it's Alice Helms, but it may be Alec Helms, in which case I apologize profusely. As I say, Marie Brennan. And so Mike is GMing a special one set of Blades in the Dark set in the world of M.A. Carrick's Rook and Rose series. It's going to be combining a group of people that generally have not shown up on this channel before. And so we're going to be doing that at 6 p.m. That will be hosted on this channel. I don't actually know that this is Speculate specific. This is just honestly a thing that is that involves Mike hosting this game that he's been wanting to do for a while and GMing it for these people. So that's going to be super cool. And I am very pleased that Mike's going to be doing that. And I know a few other people did this, and so I have tweeted it out, and I see some other people have done that too. And so, yeah, I'm proud to be able to host that on this channel, and I'm looking to do more of that sort of thing with big events like that. I would love to be able to do that. So that's going to be happening on Sunday, and that is going to close out February for us, because the last day of February is on Sunday the 28th, and then we will be into March. And I will try to get the schedule up. I'm going to be sending out the tentative schedule stuff over the weekend, and then we'll have March. March is going to be super busy for me. I have got a bunch of stuff going on, including moving. That's, kind of no big deal, just moving after 10 years in one place, moving 5 people, 3 adults, 2 children. What could possibly go wrong? So anyway, we're going to be moving in a couple of weeks, so there's that. And then I'm also getting my vaccinations next month, which is very exciting. But that's another thing that's happening. And then also the Gray Shade Kickstarter is launching next month, and that's also very exciting. So there's a ton of stuff going on, and thank God that I'm on sabbatical so that I actually have a little bit of extra time that isn't dedicated to writing and stuff that I can focus on that. So I have not, closing is happening next week. Literally at the beginning of next week, we're closing on the sale of this home, and towards the end of next week, we are closing on the purchase of our home. And then I can finally freaking announce and show you all some awesome pictures and like all this stuff and all that. And I will, of course, not give the direct address, but I'll be able to show some cool pictures of the interior and exterior and all that stuff. It's very exciting. Super excited to be there. And we were actually just there today, in fact, because my little Arv, we were looking at a possible school for little Arv for next year. And so she went to basically a full day, got a chance to kind of basically visit and do some classes and stuff like that, which all went very well. I also got little Arv we got her first laptop. So she's been using my wife's laptop, and now she has her very own, because the time has come. She is going to be going into 8th grade next year, and she's been very mature about it. And so we got her own laptop, and so we're setting that up and all that stuff. So it's a whole new world. It's a whole new thing for everybody. But so that's the deal with that. And so it's going to be very busy in March, and oh boy. But anyway, more of that stuff to come. So right now what I'm going to do is, it is my great pleasure to welcome back. Okay. It's my great pleasure to welcome back the Esper Genesis crew. And so I'm going to unmute myself, and again, apologize as always unreservedly for interrupting them if I've done so. And then I'm going to unmute them.
So that's all I had to say to get us to go on. Okay.
And last but certainly not least, I'm going to slide over to reveal the current crew. We should have with us very soon. We should have Johnny, but at the moment, Johnny had something come up, so he should be here shortly. But in the meantime, he stands as player not available. So we hope to have Johnny with us shortly. But the rest of the crew is here. We have famous authors. We have people who like to debate over illusion versus metaphor. We have internet famous Critical Role types. I mean, no big deal there. So we've got everything for you. We have all of these things available for you. And I'm going to begin, as I generally do, with the amazing and wonderful Kat Rambo. Kat, it is good to see you. I hope everything is okay with you. How is everything with you, and who are you playing today?
Everything is well. The snow has melted here in Seattle,
Lovely.
so we're perhaps at some point seeing spring. I don't know. I'd like to think so. Tonight, I am playing Petra Sinis, an ashen forged sentinel with a very large hammer that occasionally flames or sparks or gives out concussive energy.
Which is very exciting, and I'm hoping that for multiple reasons, I'm hoping that you get to see that hammer raised in anger this session. Selfishly, because I have a surprise for all of you, which I'm going to reveal when such a combat happens, if it happens. But of course, that will be dependent on the players. Watch the next 6 sessions are going to be the pacifist play. Like everything's going to be like, I think maybe, yes, they fired on us, but perhaps there's an understanding that we need to have with them. And
this episode, I deconstruct my sniper and throw it like Kylo Ren throwing his lightsaber into the water.
Exactly.
And Petra lays down the hammer.
Yeah, flaming hammers to plowshares.
Yeah, exactly. That's how this is all going to go down, and I'm just going to be like, well, so much for my surprise. It'll be another surprise. We role-play redoing the ship's interior decoration. Does it spark joy, Petra says, as the hammer just like hits us along the
Distro could get like 3 episodes out of that, I'm pretty sure.
It'll be great. It'll be sort of its own separate thing. We'll like build huge numbers with people being like, can we keep Arv's surprise for another week away? We will see. Anyway, it is a great pleasure to have Kat with us as always. It is also a great pleasure to have our good friend Carlos Hernandez here. And Carlos, I believe, although correct me if I'm wrong, is feeling better. I think you've recovered from what you were experiencing. I just want to say before you answer, I think part of it is just everyone is like, of course, everyone immediately at the moment thinks like, oh my goodness, is this COVID? And then secondly, they're like, can Carlos get sick? Like, is it possible that this person is capable of this? It feels like you would just laugh in the face of sickness, and clearly that's not true. So how are you feeling, Carlos? And
Yeah, well, I mean, I did laugh in the face of sickness. It just sounded like this. Just the quality, the sound quality changes in the laughter.
Sickness laughed back at you is what happened.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot better. Yeah, it was mostly like one of these 2-day kind of things that you're just sort of like, and that it was. We play late on the East Coast. I know you West Coasters are just like, oh yeah, I think this is a great time of night. And meanwhile, it's like 1,000,000 o'clock here at New York. So like, and I'm an early person. So like, if I get sick and I've been sick all day, it's just very hard to stay up till like 1 a.m. So, but I'm doing a lot better now. And I think part of the reason I got sick is because it is semester time. Like, I've got like papers to grade, and I'm doing 1 or 2 events a week online for book stuff, and writing a bunch of things. Hey, chat, since you all are wonderful, I have tried to develop a very short 2-page journaling solo RPG. I am in the middle of playtesting it right now. So you know what? I'm just gonna put this little Dropbox link there. I'm trying to perfect it, to be this kind of like very short thing. It's called Tightrope, and it's basically, the elevator pitch is, when you're trying to walk across, a tightrope between 2 skyscrapers, every bad thing you've ever thought of comes up at that time. So it's basically like a journaling RPG. You trying to make it across a tightrope. If you would like to play test it, you're on the Discord. You can contact me that way. I'll put up a Google link maybe later for that. I'm just saying, like, this is my gift to you.
Look at that. See, this is the kind of thing.
So
let me just be clear, okay? I understand Critical Role. When's the last time Critical Role gave people a chance to play test a game in beta testing from a well-respected game developer? I'm just saying, all right? I'm just making the point. Who are you playing today, Carlos? Boy, I'm so excited about my segue to Zach in just a minute with that. But anyway, Carlos, who are you playing today?
I am playing Ludoku Sleepwell, who basically resurrects all of these party members when they go charging into battle with fiery hammers et al.
which is
not
true.
inaccurate.
And Sleepwell has had to, in quotes, grow up fast, while still I feel like it's almost like Sleepwell against partly Sleepwell's desires is kind of like, do I have to be rational now? You know, like, I don't, this is, you know, so anyway, it's been interesting to see that develop, and I am excited for more of that as time goes on. Thank you very much for the follow. Person who I can't read because I have that in the strong spot. I think Amelia in Wonderland may be what I'm reading. So I will put the notification up, and I apologize in advance for whoever that was, but thank you so much for following. I appreciate it. And that leads me on. It's always a pleasure to have Carlos with us, of course. And that brings us on, last but certainly not least, to someone who I hope, you know, as I said, will remember this. Oh, there we go. Amelia in Wonderland, here for my boy, Zach. Well, listen, we're all just living in Zach's world because I talked about the segue. When Critical Role is not giving out possible games for people to play test, other people are watching them. Maybe some of those people are called Zach Clay, experienced voice actor, musician, dungeon master, and all-around good guy. And maybe that person then posts a tweet in which he like sets their a particular event to music, does electro trance badassery with a marimba, and then gets retweeted by Matt Mercer, Liam O'Brien, Taliesin Jaffe, and then like has 6 quadrillion likes. And so I'm just saying that if you want to find this kind of fame, if you want to find this kind of exposure to the sun, if you want to find a person who calls himself Starboy in game and is becoming a Starboy out of game, you have come to the right place, is what I am saying. It is my great pleasure to welcome. Okay, I'm building this up beyond belief. Zach, this was awesome, though. I have to say, man, I loved all of that. How are you doing now that you've become internet famous, and who are you playing tonight?
I'm doing great. After that, my cheeks hurt from smiling and laughing so much.
I do what I can.
Oh God. I'm doing good. What's funny is today Friday? Yeah, today's Friday. Yesterday was also actually my dad's birthday. So while we were out for
Happy
my dad's birthday and then celebrating it and everything, I look at my phone, my phone's blowing up. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm doing pretty good, you know, staying alive as we can, and doing things, posting remixes. Perhaps there will be an Esper Genesis one day. We'll see.
Ooh.
We'll have to see.
Next week. Oh, sorry.
You still sick there, Carlos? But yes, I'm doing good. And tonight on Esper Genesis, I will be playing Cosmeritis, the Bellari hunter / specialist. I can't wait for when Esper Genesis, this campaign, will be put to cartoon form and animated so that we can watch the exploits of our crew, which still does not have a name, by the way.
Yeah, and you all need to get on that. I mean, you know, we're day 59 here. Like
the Hyper Lancers would be the closest.
Everyone...
I thought it was Petra and others.
Yeah,
Petra and friends.
Yes.
Petra and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah. We need to have like a band name that the rest of us, we can't be others. We have to have like a unifying.
Right.
Because Petra, Electric Bugaloos.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, I mean, even the Blades in the Dark, the Speculate stuff has like strange friends, and there's like, you know, there's different, obviously Infinity and Beyond. So like, there needs to be something. You know,
we should make this a chat challenge. Chat, you should name the crew.
Yeah, you should name our crew.
There you go, chat. Can you, while we're playing tonight, come up with what do you think would be good chat? It would be good group names, chat.
What do you get when you put together a star being that with a very large sniper, an Ashen Forge with a very large hammer, another Ashen Forge that's recently overcome a drinking problem that casts all sorts of interesting Esper powers, and a walking, talking cat guy who heals people and is very empathetic towards machines.
Right. Dragon Spear. The group's name will not be Dragon Spear. I appreciate that you decided to make
I think it's kind of catchy.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Dragon Spear. Oh my god.
He's the one student in the classroom that raises the hand immediately, and you're like, "Nope, I'm not picking on you."
I already know.
Say Dragon
I already
Spear.
know. This is not going to end well. Dragon Hammer. Oh my god. It is a great pleasure to have Zach with us, and seriously, I'm so happy to be back with this crew, and to be playing. And again, I will remind everybody that there is a possible surprise coming tonight.
You're just goading us into combat, aren't you?
No, I honestly, if we don't get a combat, I'm going to the surprise is going to happen somehow.
Okay.
The surprise is going to happen somehow. I just don't want to say how.
But it's optimal if we fight something.
It would be more germane to the circumstances, I think. Yes.
Okay.
Well, we will see. But in the meantime, it is great to have this crew with me, and let us get into this amazing and awesome game. Let's do this with, how about some Loop Tales by Tabletop to begin with? Sure, I got music.
Oh yes, I've missed
Loop
this.
Tales, woo!
I've missed the Arv at the bar ordering the drink of music.
Yes, the jukebox
and ambience,
as it were.
Yes.
Okay. So in our last session, everyone, which was about a month ago now because of various things that came up. But in our last session, the crew, soon to be named, the not Dragon Spear Star CPUs either, the Star Lancers. See, these are all awesome names if they were
so 60s,
Battle of the Planets. I don't know. Like, if they were
you can't have
Voltron,
Star in your name. It's just this, I don't know.
Yeah, it's something Star Crusader.
Unless you're Star Boy.
That's a whole different thing. In this last session, the crew made a final decision about where they were going to go. There's been a lot happening, and you'd need to look in many of the other videos to be able to summarize all the things that happened. But essentially, the party has now realized that it is confronted with a major threat, and it is what remains of the Long Winter, a deadly cyber virus that threatens to spread over and overtake the entire Silrain arc. The party has destroyed much of that cyber virus, but not all of it, and the part that remains has essentially split. Part of it is currently residing in Kaz, somewhere within his suit, and basically is, from what we can tell, acting as a kind of firewall for the other part of it, which is the psychotic, terrible part of this AI, which has decided that it is going to try to take out revenge, and some AIs just want to see the galaxy burn, and that's essentially what this other part of the Long Winter is trying to do in finding them. That's one problem, but it's not the only problem that the party has, because they also, at the moment, have somehow managed to make enemies of both the Shadow Technocracy, a shadowy criminal organization with deep designs that are unclear on the galaxy, but are gradually beginning to become revealed, and of course, Zephyr Corporation, and specifically one portion of Zephyr Corporation, a rogue faction called Stormdark, which was responsible for doing a lot of things, including developing the original Long Winter. The connection between Stormdark and the Shadow Technocracy is not yet completely understood, but the party is still trying to figure this out. And this is not even to get into the personal stuff, the fact that Petra is still trying to discover what has happened to Dezora, because Dezora dropped a bomb about Petra's possible origins and then was like, now I'm out. Which is problematic, obviously, and caused issues. Then, of course, we have Sleepwell, whose sister contacted Sleepwell out of the blue, and, of course, his father, who somehow has had some terrible body modification, techno, cyber, something or other done to him, and Sleepwell, of course, wants to discover that, which has many mixed feelings for him, given his relationship with his family to this point. Kaz, we've already talked about having the Long Winter as a part of him, and trying to figure out what that is all about, and also at the same time trying to figure out what kind of a person he is going to be going forward. And, of course, Aramis, who is attempting to, the best he can, make amends for his role in a terrible massacre of the Matakai, even though his role, as Sleepwell has pointed out to him explicitly, was in part to try to reject and resist it, except probably not in time. At least that's what Aramis believes. And so Aramis has been given something that would allow him to make amends, that is to seek out and find these creatures called the Batera, face the Batera, and in so doing, just as the Matakai have done for eons, he would be able to prove and create respect for himself, and would would have made amends to the Matakai and would be able to move forward in his own personal journey. This would be no problem if it weren't for the fact that the Batera believe that Matakai are abominations and are not particularly friendly. So that's out there too. But before all of that happens, the party has also discovered, I shouldn't say before, but in addition to all that, the party has also discovered that they, to find out more information about the Long Winter, that they now have a lead on one creature, one person, who was a part of this mix, specifically Bliss Larkham and Laris Baladin, the one who originally apparently is responsible for doing a lot of this Long Winter stuff. But to get to the place where Bliss Larkham is supposedly being kept, and to get to the place where Laris Baladin is supposedly holed up, and where hopefully this information about Stormdark and that rogue faction would become more clear, they need to be able to get down to the planet to make it happen. How do they do that? They find out more information about that planet, and one of the ways to find out more information about that and about the Hyperlance itself, and about getting into the base that is on the planet, which is only accessible through the use of AI technology found upon the Hyperlance, is to go to the creator of the Hyperlance, or where they think the Hyperlance creator is. And that is this small, out-of-the-way planet that you see at the far lower portion of your screen, chat, which is known as Bakiyu. And so the party has decided to go to the planet of Bakiyu to try to find...
Bakiyu.
Bakiyu. To try to find this person, get the information from them about the Hyperlance and how the Hyperlance and the Alfreds that power the Hyperlance are all connected. And with that knowledge, then maybe go to a crucible where the Hyperlance, where the AIs were partially, formed. The Sorium core was, drained and used to create the Hyperlance. Maybe go directly to the base where Bliss Larkham and company could be found, Laris Baladin could be found. Maybe go and do Aramis's thing, or Petra's thing, or Sleepwell's thing, or... I have no idea what the party is going to do next, but we do know that they are on their way to Bakiyu to try to track down the leader of, the creator, I should say, of the technology that led to the Hyperlance. And so the party at the end of our last session set off from Pelsaros and headed in that direction. And I will just remind them all that in addition to that, while they were on their way with Rona and crew in the Hyperlance, the camera showed that some small little point of light followed the ship. Of course, the crew is not aware of it, but if you pull the camera back to 50 million miles or whatever it would be in space, something else is following them. We made the Boba Fett Slave One jokes, but that's the basic idea. And so with that information placed before the party, I want to jump us forward here to Bakiyu, but before I do that, jump us forward to when they're heading to get into orbit around Bakiyu. But before I do that, I do want to ask if the party has anything that it wants to be doing on the trip from Pelsaros to Bakiyu. So you've already left Pelsaros, you're now gone, because you dealt with all that the last couple sessions. What are you doing as you are en route, if anything, to Bakiyu? Is there anything that you're privileging that you want to focus your attention upon?
And how long is that trip?
That trip probably is going to take, you would guess, about, assuming that you're able to, the Hyperlance is now almost fully repaired and going pretty good speed, so probably about a solar week, if you had to guess. But again, that's partially assuming that nothing else runs into it, but Hyperlance is also pretty good at avoiding contact if it wants to, so...
Right. So that does give me enough time then to do the thing that I want to do. Basically, I want to make my full complement of Android supporters that I do. So basically, there'll be 4 androids that I will make. And this time I am studying the planet of Bakiyu and trying to anticipate what kind of environment we might be in to make these androids, just paint them in basically colors that would camouflage well in whatever environment. So like if we're going to be inside of a silvery spaceship, they're going to be looking silvery. If they're going to be in a jungle climate, then that sort of thing.
Okay.
So where does it seem likely? So I'm also, I guess, by way of that's saying I'm also investigating what planet Bakiyu is like.
So that is useful. That is all useful information for you to learn. I am going to ask you to make. Let me see if I want you to make a computers check.
I think computers is really good.
I can't imagine why.
Because lore wouldn't make any sense here at all.
Yeah, I know.
Just because I want something
to
do, Kaz will help sleep well with this, only on the camouflage part. Because Kaz is somewhat skilled in survival, so especially if it ends up being and Kaz is curious as to what kind of planet this is too, so he also.
I may ask you to do a rather unusual one that I don't typically ask for, but I need to double check something first. See if I wanna do
Astrophysics.
that. That's
I don't think that's come up once.
Yeah.
that is exact. That's actually.
It's,
Exactly.
you need to make a check in Jacobian theater.
That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was thinking about. Was astrophysics, but it's not actually that.
Oh, okay.
I would like you to make a check in. Get ready for it. Xenobiology, because this is actually about planetary terrain, about weather cycles, alien life, land and sea formations, and comparison between those on different planets.
And that is intelligence. That's
Yes,
an
it
intelligence
is. So
test, yeah.
xenobiology. Now, if I would say, as far as helping this cause, what's your pitch on helping with that?
To be clear, I wasn't even thinking about helping with a roll. I just wanted to be, once he finds out what kind of planet Bakuyu is, I just wanted to know.
Okay,
so
yes, got it.
I'm just kind of placed myself, and I'm, especially if it ends up being a jungle planet, then Kaz will be like, oh, I can help. Whatever.
Okay, makes sense.
So I'm not getting any help.
I mean, I don't know if I can. I knew you were
it's
gonna
like,
say that.
If someone asked if you were God, you say yes.
You say yes.
Well, would there be a way? I mean, is this just kind of like Googling in the database Bakuyu?
No, because the thing
it's not
is,
really something I could help with, right?
No, but what you could do is both of you could do xenobiology checks. This is not really something where you can help each other. It's more each of you are going to be trying to make checks. Like it's almost like, okay, you take A through M and you take N through Z, right? Like that's basically what you're doing. So
all right, I'll do Xeno, you do biology. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Okay.
Also, the wild cards. Oh, so just a couple of chat reminders. Kaz and the Sunshine Mercenary Band. I like that, although. Okay, I like that.
I don't know.
Drunken Hammer, Sleeping Star is a good one, Carlos. Yeah. Captain Love and the Triad of Harmony. I mean, listen, there are positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 70s flower children in the chat. I love it.
The wild cards, though, is awfully good.
Yeah.
There are, because that's sort of what I also was just thinking about in that episode we talked about of Star Trek Sitting on the Edge of Forever. McCoy is referred to at one point as the random element. The random elements is not bad either. Because that's essentially what you are. I don't mean random in a negative way. I mean like literally, or the catalysts.
We are also channeling the energy of one of my favorite It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes where he screams, "Wild card, bitches," and
if we added the bitches, I think Sleepo would be in.
Yes. TM, bitches, TM. Yeah.
Oh, man. And I would have to be very clear that this was Kat's idea. I did not do it my own way. I can imagine it's just like, you're canceled, Arv. I'm like, no, I swear it wasn't my... Anyway, okay, so we'll keep throwing that. The Unexpected Elements isn't bad. That sounds almost like you're a band. Anyway.
It's up to you, Sleepwell. I got a 9.
Oh, I got an 18.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, you do actually know a little bit about this, Sleepwell. And one of the things that you note, so... The way that you figure this out is that you look at Bakuyu and you realize that its orbit is very, very far from the center. You're maybe reminded, if Aramis were here, he could probably make a reference to an old Terran movie in which it says, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet it's farthest from. That's basically what Bakuyu is. Bakuyu is very far away, and in fact, the orbit for Bakuyu has gradually been, I hope no astrophysicist experts are going to hate me because I don't astrological astronomy people are going to be able to confirm this for me, but essentially I think it's a decaying orbit where the orbit is gradually slipping so that Bakuyu is sliding further and further out of the system. In fact, given another couple thousand years, probably Bakuyu will not even be in the Silrain arc anymore. It will have basically headed outwards. So in the meantime, it has this very distant kind of oval, which means it is a very cold planet. The heat, such as it is, only heats one side of the planet and only does so in a very limited time period. And by the time you get to the place, it looks like it's going to be, it actually probably is going to be right at the end of that cycle. So it'll be as warm as it ever gets, but that's still not particularly warm. And so you know that it's a very cold planet. There was life that was found on that planet before, but it tended to be of a very unusual, sort of dangerous and, how do I put this? Like, it was a very hostile environment, I guess would be the way to put it. Definitely not a place where you would expect a lot of bandits or anything else to show up, which is what makes it surprising that this person that you're going to try to find would have a place there. Although it sure as hell is off the beaten path. I mean, no one would ever go of their own free will to go visit this place, so maybe that explains it, but the circumstances for sustaining life would be difficult on this planet, so you know that for sure. It's also not a very big planet. Fairly small, definitely bigger than a moon would be, but not a huge planet.
So, but mostly like pretty darn frozen is what we're thinking.
Pretty cold.
Yeah, is this
maybe
is
not
this kind of
completely?
like
It's not an ice ball, but it's
Is it
very
like
cold.
Hoth almost?
I'm saying again.
Almost like Hoth.
Yeah, like Hoth would be a good example. Yes, I would say so. But there are portions of it where it's more like the frozen tundra. You know, like it's not all snow, but even the portions that don't have the equivalent of precipitation on it are just, you know, very hard ground and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, basically my little robots will be Snow Bunny-esque.
Okay.
Snow bunny, you say?
Okay, so orbit can decay either way. All right, good. So then I didn't embarrass myself astronomically. Good. Astronomically in all senses of the word.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so you were putting those things together. Kaz, you were finding out about this planet. So, well, actually,
Yeah.
Sleepo, do you tell Kaz about this? Because
Oh,
Sleepo
yes,
was like, it's a planet.
I'm
you know?
big into sharing.
Okay. So, Kaz, you
Luckily
now
for
know
me.
this. Does this affect anything you do mechanically, Kaz, in terms of preparation, or are you just, you're like, okay, cool. That's literally cool.
Kaz would just help Sleepwell in his process of making his constructs camouflaged for winter weather and for snow. Would just take a look at them with a ranger, hunter's eye, and maybe make some suggestions if he should adjust the coloration or change some things like that. But
Okay. Yeah.
otherwise, no.
I would say so. Like, for one thing, I think maybe Sleepo probably makes them, like for a winter environment, makes them perhaps too white, and you have to point out that there are actually shades of white and blue in these frozen planets that are part of the camouflage environment. Anyway, so
I
sure,
would
I
say
think you're
that's
able to
good.
do that.
Yeah.
And then Petra, I know you've been doing this sort of searching for Tzora, and that's occasionally bearing some fruit. Are there other things you're doing besides that sort of thing, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I am baking to calm my nerves, which means that there are just plates of small pastries constantly, to the point where people are like, oh fuck, here she comes again. And I'm like, here's the charts. All right. And that's what I'm doing.
That is awesome. For the record, if I were on this hypothetical ship, I would never actually swear upon seeing you bring yet another plate of bacon. I'd be like, outstanding. I am now 7 million pounds. Please give me more cookies and cake. Yeah. Okay,
Wonderful.
that's cool. So
aside
you
from
were doing
that, I don't know if we would be doing much. I will be upfront and say that maybe we're paying a bit of attention on the way from here to there for any maybe distress calls or like ship scrap yards or interesting points of interest from here to there that above table may or may not lead to combat. But otherwise, just like, hey, if we got a week of travel and we can see something interesting or fight a space worm, I mean, why not? I don't know.
Well, and I just wanted to say this, just because like passive perception is a thing, but I've never really understood how, like, I've never actually been in a campaign where it's been used actively, but like my dude is like pretty good at passive perception.
Yes. Yeah.
And we would be running like standard checks of like, not that we expect that we would be followed and stuff, but that we would, so I wonder if there's like a passive perception check that we could make.
I think absolutely. And you make a good point about passive perception. I'll tell you right now why DMs and GMs hate it. The reason they don't like using passive perception a lot of the time is A, it is a lot more for the DM to keep track of, but the real reason is because players like active agency in the choices they make, not just like, nope, sorry, I didn't see it, or there it is, and it's just like, it actually can add to a feeling of railroading, and that's why there's a sense that, like,
Interesting. Yeah.
and that's honestly why I'm not a big fan of passive perception, because my view is like, I understand why you do it. Like, if you say make a perception check and then they fail, you're like, okay, nothing. But that too is fine, because there are times when in real life you will not see something around you, or you'll be walking along, something feels wrong, right? But you'll like look around and you don't see anything, and you're like, that's weird, right? That's what the fail, to me, a failed active perception check is. That having been said, though, I have been keeping general track, though, of some passive perception stuff. And yes, I would say that probably about 4 to 5 days in, and I'm assuming that you folks are taking the Hyperlance around populated areas for the most part, because one of the things that you were warned, remember, by Abraxas was like, there are groups out there looking for you. So basically try not to sort of be like, hey, we're out here exposed in this super valuable ship, type of thing. So I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're trying to avoid big population areas. But is that accurate? Okay.
Did he mention why exactly because are we still on the run from... This is like we're a bunch of vagabonds that have to track...
You're the A-team. I mean, you're straight up the A-team, yes.
So is Peltavarius still hunting us?
Well,
the Bastion, if they were to, but who else? Like,
well,
did he say that we're infamous because of our theft ? Of the Hyperlance itself?
So there was the leaving of the Bastion. The theft of the Hyperlance is still, theoretically is still a thing. There is, of course, there is Stormdark, this rogue faction of the Zephyr Corporation, which is a little peeved at you because, you blew up their base.
And they kind of have shadow people everywhere.
Yeah. There's the Shadow Technocracy, which is also peeved because you'll remember you also blew up that base. And you had a lot of that you've been doing. And then also I would point out all the way back to the beginning of the campaign, you escaped from a Lorendi prison ship. So now that hasn't come back as an issue for a while because you've been running around all over the place. But there's a bunch of groups that basically are like, yo, this group. So you really are the A-team meets Farscape. Like, pretty much. Like, there's a lot of people who want a piece of you.
That's funny.
And so, and also Abraxas is always paranoid because he himself has a little bit of a shady past, as you all know. So they may be part of it too. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So with all that said, I am going to ask you, this is probably, again, about the 3rd or 4th day. So assuming that you're avoiding those things, I am going to ask, who do I want to have make this check? I think I'm going to ask for a... I guess I'm going to ask for a perception check, but it's a little unusual, but I'm going to ask for a perception check. I will ask this from everybody because who succeeds on this, the nature of the perception check may end up being different. If anyone does.
Would there be any value thematically for Kaz to do a survival check instead? Survival would actually be lower, but I'm wondering if I would gain different information.
I guess the question
I don't know
is
what
why
situation.
Well, right, I was going to say, like, this is about noticing something. I don't think it's survival, Kaz, because I don't think you're in a position. You're on board ship still. So I think that may be tied into this. But
okie dokie.
Survival may come up a lot in the planet that you're going to.
Yeah.
We shall see. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. So, Petra is very focused on baking, it looks like. But just really, the temperature has to be just right.
She just started her own cooking channel.
Yeah, the flour.
She's like recording.
Yeah.
Smash that like button if you want more star.
Petrison is the new Rachel Ray.
Exactly. Okay, so yes. And then we have Sleepwell, and we have Kaz. I think what I would put this as probably is the two of you, I think, would probably notice this simultaneously. This happens during what would normally be sleep well your cycle to sleep, hopefully well, as you're just about to go to sleep. And Kaz, I will sort of tie it into that. It's not about sleep so much for Kaz, but there is sort of a, down cycle, I would assume, for you, Kaz, where you're just kind of like, at a low ebb, so to speak.
Yep.
And as you are sort of in sleep well, do you sleep in your quarters or in the medical bay?
I think I sleep in quarters.
Okay. So as you're going to, turn out the lights, basically, at one point you get a little from one of your droids. Now, this thing that you've created, your snow bunny, I think you call them, that you've created, also has a little bit of function where it's loosely tied into the communication network of the ship. The ship doesn't control it or anything, but you set it up so that you're able to access it so that when you need to get the droids and you're not right next to them, you can basically be like, Snow Bunny, right? And if it's in the engine room, it just comes like flying.
Right.
So what happens is it goes this doo-doo-doo-doo, and then you start hearing, sort of almost in a half dream as you're kind of slipping in and out of sleep, right? You hear what sounds almost like like talking, but it's very low and it's clearly coming from your droid, and it sounds as if it's not like the droid is not coming up to talk to you or interact with you in any way. It's just there, sort of in a relatively low power state, and it's repeating something almost as if it's picking up on what would be like the equivalent of an old radio signal. It's picking up on something that's coming through the ship's that's somehow being routed through the ship in some way. So it's not coming from the ship's intercom, but it's picking up on conversation of some kind, and you're kind of like, you can hear that sort of sound. I'll talk about Kaz's connection to this in a minute, but sleep well, that's what you get.
Okay. Can I act on that?
Yes. So first of all, I mean, assuming you come to full consciousness, it's one of those things where first you wake up and you're like, what? It doesn't even... And then you look over and you can hear that the sound is still coming from this bizarre spot in your room. And it's, again, coming from one of your droids. And it's just sitting there on the floor in its low power state. And you'd have to get closer to it to hear it better.
Yeah, and of course I do. That's the first thing I would do is just basically almost press my ear to it and really just try to hear it.
Yeah, when you do that, you hear basically. It sounds
so it's
like
repeating a message.
Yes.
Right, so I can tell percussively that it's the same message.
Yes.
So, yeah, what I'd like to try to do is use the ship's computer to try to isolate it, augment, maybe slow down the sound, enhance it, basically do all the tricks to try to hear it better.
I will ask you to make a computers check for that. And Kaz, I'm not forgetting you. I'll come to you.
No, you're good.
Take your time.
15?
I would say you were able to... I'd say you're able to isolate it. No, you're able to slow it down. It's harder to isolate it because there is a bunch of background static that's getting picked up as part of the signal, but it's not that the static is existing in the background and then there's a message. It's that something in the static clearly was meant to be part of this message, but like is not, is hard to discern. You're not getting that. But there's one very important thing that you're able to gather from that. This is, although you don't recognize the language referent, this is code, Sleep well. This is definitely something that's encoded.
Okay. I will do other things after you deal with Zek.
Okay. In the meantime, Kaz, you are in your quarters and going through this sort of, low power state yourself, I guess, basically, or the equivalent thereof. You're kind of, just sort of calming down. And as you're just sort of sitting in your quarters, there is a moment where you're kind of looking off in one direction, I would say, and then you sort of catch out of the corner of your eye, to the extent you have an eye, you know what I mean? The vid screen winks on, and it sort of flashes like, and at first it almost looks like an electrical surge or something, like they just, zzz, but it's regular. As you like look at it again, it's So there's no sound, it's just visual. But it's consistent in the same kind of visual flashing pattern. Flash, 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 off. Flash, 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 off. Yeah, exactly, Rudnon. Yeah, a little bit.
Do I... It's a bit of a stretch, but would Kaz know any equivalent of, like, you know, space Morse code? If that's what this is?
Kaz knows something.
I
Make
guess...
me an astrophysics check. No,
I mean,
someday we'll
if
get
we
that
wanted to,
someday.
like, quantify it, I guess it would have to be a part of my background. Let me look that up. Because I am a drifter. I doubt it, but...
Yeah. I
Unless
mean, I
you
don't
had
know
a
if
different
Kaz
idea.
would know it, but a member of the Sunshine Mercenary Band definitely would.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's see. Well, no. Because, like, the one actual benefit that I get from my background is you've been to many different worlds, from the backwater to the megacities. You have a general sense of direction, can recall the layout of any wilderness or urban terrain, but that's about it. So unless you have another idea of if I would know.
think, well, I think that I think you could make a computer's check to see
Okay.
if you note something about this.
All right.
The computer's check is not you doing something in computer, it's whether you recognize something.
Yeah,
let's
it's
put it that way.
almost like a history check.
Yeah, sort of, yep.
All right. D20 plus 1. So 10.
It's the only thing you know for sure, Kaz, is it's definitely a regular repeating pattern.
Okay.
And you know that regular repeating patterns are generally done either as like automated, messages, or they are being done from some kind of computerized setup or computer, or maybe an AI or something like that, or it's being meant to seem that way. But the pattern, definitely, something coming across as a pattern, is very clear to you that that's what it is. What's not clear is what the hell it's doing on your vid screen, and whether it's happening anywhere else in the ship.
I would get up and leave my quarters and go to the nearest quarters to mine, which we could just say for ease's sake would be Petra and then Aramis maybe. And then I would make sure that they're up in case this is something that's going to stop us.
So, like, if these are your quarters here,
Yeah, sure.
or something, then, and if Petra's quarters, I'm pretty sure, no, that's a, no, that's the airlock.
That's
That's
she
the airlock.
Sleeps in the
She
airlock.
lives in the airlock. No.
I don't really need a bed, and it seems like the quarters are actually pretty
I
tight.
think probably Petra would be, was there. I know that
So-
Sleepwell, I remember, was down here, because it was near the medical bay.
Petra
So-
would be close to the kitchen.
So, right, exactly, because that's the kitchen right here, the galley. Yep, exactly. Okay, so, all right, so you leave, and
I'd
then
be
what
in
do you
here.
do? Did you say, Gus?
I kind of knock on Petra's door, and this is kind of interrupting our long rest, is it?
Well, I mean, you will have
Theoretically.
had plenty of time for a long rest.
Like a week, right?
This
Or, I
happens
mean,
every
but,
night, so
yeah,
you never get a
yeah.
long rest.
But I mean, like, this is the equivalent of 3 a.m. on this day
Right,
of our
right,
trip. Okay.
Right.
So I knock on the door.
So, Petra, I
And-
assume you hear this, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, or whatever.
And Petra will appear and looks actually like she hasn't been sleeping at all. Although it takes you a couple of minutes to arrive there.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
There's some sort of weird flickering on the screen in my room. I know it sounds silly why I'd wake you up, but I've never seen something like it before, and it gives me a weird feeling. Just
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
no. I go back. I sulk and go back to my room. Go back to my room.
No, I'm sure this is something. I'm sure this is something serious because I know you wouldn't come at this time to awake me unless it was something that you genuinely.
I just
thought.
didn't want, if we're about to get attacked or something, the last thing I want is for some of us to not be awake. That's all.
Well, let's go look at it.
Worst.
Maybe we should
worst
wake everyone
thing,
else up.
yeah.
As long as we're all up, let's wake everyone else up just for the hell of it and go look at it.
Is there
As
a
long
way
as I'm up, I
for
feel-
us to message? Well, would
I mean,
we
you could
think
fire
if
up a
this-
ship-wide alarm. That'll get everybody up.
Alert!
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 I mean, you could red alert everybody, but if you don't want to go that far, you could just go to
is-
everyone's quarters that you want.
I'll
to wake up.
ask first. Should I issue a ship alert? Is this?
Well, who is exactly on the Hyperlance with us? So it's the four of us, Rona, and who?
And the crew that is handling that handles the engines. So that's usually, I think, a crew of about 9 or 10, I believe is what we said. That is stationed at various places throughout the ship, and there's always a couple of them in the engine room.
And I believe we still have a dog.
And you do have a
as
dog.
well.
You have a robot dog, indeed.
Just wanted
Is
to
it-
mention that.
Regular for Rona. Is there always someone piloting the ship, or are we
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
always
in
someone
autopilot?
there's always someone in the bridge, even though they don't always have the helmet on. They will always be like, tending to cameras or, that sort of thing. Even though the Hyperlance is pretty self-capable, but it's obviously
Okay.
under the circumstances, you do need someone to pilot it.
So, I would say to Petra, maybe we just, try to send a message to whoever's in the bridge right now and see if something's going on up there with them.
Okay. Makes sense. And say, hey, Bridge, anything going on?
So it is not actually Rona that is up there. Instead, you get. Hold on one second. While I
Bill.
move this
Bill.
over. Yeah, exactly. You get-
Anor,
Do you-
Rona's cousin.
I need to find. I need to find the one that was the.
Yeah, Honar.
I need to find my favorite ever NPC. Oh yeah, do you remember Fred Minion from Quebec?
Oh,
Who was
yes.
spelled Mignon, and I was super proud of myself.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
wait, the chef?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he was the security guy because there was he was a minion. No, the chef was another guy. The chef was
Okay.
someone that you found on the planet with the Terra and everything. Yeah. Anyway, no, but that's not who you find in there. It is one of the crew members, one of Rona's crew, who you actually get a hold of, and this is kind of one of the youngest members of the crew, a fresh-faced Promethean who, when you sort of go on the kind of this kind of fresh-faced, red-haired, freckled face appears, and yeah.
You getting any weird readings on the bridge? Any flickering or anything like that?
Oh, well, I don't think so. And you see him rapidly looking at various screens. You can't see him what the screens are, but he's looking off camera basically. And he's like, no, everything looks normal here. We're on track. Everything's fine. Hyperlance readout says 2 days till we reach orbit. I don't think so. Why? Is there anything wrong?
There's a weird interference. We'll get back to you.
Oh,
And
okay.
I turn to Petra and say, maybe I am really overreacting. Maybe my TV's just bugging out.
I don't think you're overreacting. So first, let's go back to that guy and just let him know he should be on extra alert because perhaps something is going on, and it never hurts for someone to be on extra alert. And then let's go look at your screen.
All right.
Okay, so once you give that warning, then you can head over there to look at that extra screen.
So just to be clear, there was no ship-wide alert, so Sleeple doesn't
No.
know that other people are doing things. Okay.
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, and I would say, just by sort of kind of tie up the timelines, I would say that you would have figured out the code part of this, Sleepwell, at the same time that Petra and Kaz are basically in Kaz's room looking at the TV, at his vid screen. So I'm just letting you know. Okay, so you're in there, and you continue to see this pattern, and Petra, you can now see it too, that it is in fact kind of this regular visual pattern of screen flashing multiple times and then going black and then flashing again in the same kind of rhythmic way.
Well, that's not what that's supposed to be doing.
Do the honors, Petra. You're the one who had the idea.
let's see if anybody else is awake, and we'll ping Aramis and Sleepwell just to see if anybody is up right now, and if so, ask them to come look at this with us.
We don't want to turn it off and on again yet?
No, I surely you did that already, of course.
No, not yet.
The practiced side.
Well, so we
the
will
tech
try
support.
that, Greg. We will turn it off and then back on just to make sure this is not just like some power surge glitch or
When you turn
the
it
DM
off,
fucking with us in some way.
what do you mean? When you turn it off, the screen does not go black.
It continues.
Yeah, same pattern.
All right, it is a problem. Let's go with your plan. Yeah,
That's
let's do it.
definitely not what it's supposed to be doing. So I will see if I suspect Johnny is deep in drunken slumber. Here,
Who's
I'll
Johnny?
slander him. Not here. Aramis is deep in
Yeah, also his character.
Oh. Wow.
let's see if Sleepwell is living up to his name, and we'll ping him gently and say, "Are you awake?"
This very gentle ping arrives at me, and I'm like, hey, I was just about to contact you. I have this weird thing going on with one of my robots.
Oh,
We got something weird going on too. Why don't you bring the robot and come here? And I'll tell him where we are.
So, yeah, I boogie on over. Robots in tow.
Okay. All right. So I will have you when you get a chance, Carlos. You can bring Sleepwell over there. So assuming you wait until Sleepwell shows up with the robot. Yeah, when he gets there, you're still looking up at the video screen. This is really fun to watch him traverse the whole ship.
Yeah, I'm doing like a little animation.
Here, no.
is the flickering screen in the room that I'm currently in?
Yeah, because your room is down here, so it would
Okay.
be Petra and Sleepo will be in here. Indeed, by which I mean here.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, when you arrive, you can see Sleepwell the screen. They're staring at a screen which is flashing. But as you see this, let me see. Do I have you? Yeah, I'm gonna have you make a perception check, but you're gonna do this at advantage, Sleepwell, because of something else you've done.
Okay. Advantage is nice.
Advantage.
So, dice. Perception, which is a great stat for me. Here's roll 1. 26. Let's see if we can get the 20. 26 and 25.
Okay. Yeah, you immediately notice when you see the screen that the flashing you're seeing on the screen exactly corresponds to the sounds rising and falling in volume of your robot. So when it's doing the, like as if you were looking at a visual representation of the audio
Right.
that you're hearing from your drone.
And I just quickly say, like, hey, this matches exactly. Like, clearly something is trying to communicate in multiple media here to communicate to us.
I have an idea, but I don't know if it's wise. What if we tried to connect your robot to the screen?
So
But what if this is
that's-
what if this is the long winter attacking us right now and we're giving it control of the hyperlance? We shouldn't do that.
So what if we take the robot and we're like, okay, inhabit the robot, but first we remove any weapons the robot has, any mobility the robot has, and just make it a tin can with a speaker.
I'm also going to have the other 3 robots train their guns on this robot.
That's good.
That's great. That's great. image.
Which construct is this one that is being possessed?
This is Snow Bunny number 5. No, it's just.
Do they
just
do they
one.
still look like us? Though?
No, they don't. They
Oh, okay.
they just they basically they kind of look like Donnie Darko rabbit wearing masks, but with the kind of like blue icy white. Because I thought that would be creepy.
It is.
Definitely
That
creepy.
is super creepy,
Is that
dude.
like Mambo number
Absolutely.
5?
Let's guns trained
Five
on this
Nights at
fucker.
Freddy's.
Right? Oh man.
So yeah, so basically, I think that's a pretty good idea. I go ahead and just take its it has an arm pistol, and I take that offline. I don't think there's much else that it can do, and I go ahead and try to just connect it, by Ethernet cable or Thorium cable or whatever we have in Esper.
HDMI.
Yeah, exactly. A gold-plated one.
old-
Those are extra
Right, it's a
good.
Radio Shack gold-plated cable.
Yeah.
Thank God I got one of these before the whole
Yeah.
thing folded.
Oh
So-
man.
Got multiples just before fries went out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
poor
man.
fries. Raise a glass.
Yeah.
F's in the chat.
Okay. So, all right. So you do that, and then you're going to try to connect. Now, how are you? Because these things are not generally meant to connect. How are you planning to connect the robot to the screen?
Well, so remember how the robots are already connected via communication, so that I can like read
Wirelessly,
some
though.
anything.
But
Yeah,
that's
but-
true.
But they're already connected, So
Okay.
I figure like whatever I need to do to enhance that communication connection to this specific spot.
Okay. So let me have you make a mechanics check then for this.
Okay.
Because you're going to be sort of
Can
physically
I
doing
help
that.
sleep well? Just the same wires he's connecting. I don't know if there's any way I can help. I'm not really sure what we're looking at, but I'm also relatively skilled in mechanics.
I'll allow you to assist and get a +1. I don't think it's a big one, but I think you
Alright.
probably could give some assistance, yeah.
It's a 13.
Plus the 1, so 14?
No, I included that.
Okay. So, yeah, you're able to basically connect it. It's a little bit jury-rigged, but you kind of figure out a way to sort of enhance what's going on there. And when you do that and you make the connection, what it essentially does is amplify and increase the volume of the sound and brighten and intensify, because when you first looked at the screen, Kaz, you thought that maybe it was just like a weird sort of glitch, because it wasn't like very bright, it was almost like little flashes. Doing this intensifies the flashing and also amplifies the sound, so they are now sort of in sync with each other. And you get the sense that what you're getting here is definitely some kind of, as you know already, Sleepwell, it was definitely some kind of code. But if you had to guess, this doesn't strike you as communication as such, although the code, it has no known reference at all. Like you don't have no idea. You'd have to try to spend some time in the computers figuring out what the code is. But it does not seem like you're doing something where there's a direct communication to you. This almost feels like you're picking up an echo. Like as you're flying along, you're picking up an echo of a message from somewhere else, some other ship communicating to some other ship, or something communicating to something else. And you are, in essence, passing through the, imagine driving in your car and the radio, suddenly like you're listening to a certain radio station and all of a sudden it cuts out and you're getting like a
I've had
random
that
high school
happen
football
before.
game. Like that's what this feels like.
I mean, I think we just really want to continue to try to enhance it and just try to hear the thing, just because there's nothing more annoying than hearing, like, at a quarter volume a high school football game. Like, so if that's what it sounds like, we're going to keep trying to improve it.
Yeah.
Sleepwell, what's your analysis of what this is?
Basically, I think we just entered into a space where somebody is constantly broadcasting a message, and it's on repeat because it's the same message over and over. So, that would match the profile of a distress call, for instance, or it could be a warning to stay away. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely short and on repeat. So, I think what we just need to do is just try to get the quality up so we can actually hear it.
Yeah, I just want to add one more option to the distress call or whatever, which is trap with a capital T.
It is spelling out the letters ACKBAR, and that is troubling. That you're getting the word Akbar repeatedly.
Yeah, it took me a second.
I'm just joking.
I was going to suggest that we stop the ship so that we don't leave its. If this is a broadcast, you're saying, Sleepwell, then we don't want to leave the range. Is that a good idea?
I think,
Or-
maybe it would be a good idea to stop the ship and maybe cloak, just so that
Yeah,
if a
that's-
trap is going to be sprung, we won't be immediately doing that. And by the way, I'm just eating a lot of calamari while I say
Yeah.
this.
Well, that's good. I like that.
I say in Captain Picard's voice, make it so.
Okay, so you're going to stop the ship? Then?
Yes, we will ping the red-haired
Yep.
lad at the bridge.
Yes, sir.
Can you bring the ship to impulse power and cloak the ship? Do you know how to do that?
Oh, yes, right away. And
All right.
so there's a moment where all of you kind of lurch slightly. He's like, "Oh, sorry. This kid's a bit eager. Like they're a very good pilot, but just like a little over, just dial it back.
Like a
few
young
notches."
Chekhov.
Yeah, exactly. I can do that. Yeah, dial it back a few notches. And so, but anyway, so comes to a stop, and now you are just in space, floating there, stopped. Obviously, gravity's fine, but you are no longer moving forward.
And so, yeah, we'll continue to try to enhance the messages. I'm wondering if our crew, we must have people on this crew who monitor things like communications, maybe are even more specialized than I. I'm wondering if we can really get the crew involved at this point.
You can try, although the reality is that you may remember that when Rona assembled this crew, this crew was basically a bunch of volunteers / people that liked you. You may remember it's a little bit of a ragtag group. They really know engineering a lot. The comm part of things is not really their bag. So, I mean, they may know kind of some of the basics. Frankly, you're likely to have the most specialized communications knowledge, Sleepwell, the four of you, over what they would have. They're more on the
still try
engineering
to-
side.
Yeah, I'm going to put a lot of brains on this, just try to crowdsource the problem,
Okay.
just if we have, whatever crew is active, they might as well work on this because
Okay.
what else are they going to do?
That's
Yeah.
fine. So you sort of pipe it down then to the engine room where you've got a couple of them and pipe in the front. And you get a lot of very eager, helpful response. You get the impression that the graveyard shift is not the most interesting thing in an engine room on the Hyperlance. So you get a lot of people who are just like, oh, and you have people firing back. Some of them suggest that maybe of course they don't know the specifics, but they know that you guys are hot, and I don't mean that by attractiveness level, which is obviously true. I'm referring to the, hot car. You people, a lot of people, are gunning for you in some way. And
Yeah.
so they know you as this. So a lot of them, one of them suggests that basically this is part of an enormous criminal conspiracy. One of them says that
Oh my God! Anyone says QAnon, they're getting shot into space.
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, it involves pizza joints. No, one of them said that there is a big, he remembers seeing this whole thing. There was this Terran show that he saw once where there was like a fake distress call, and they used to do this to weed people out in the academy of this one thing, and it was impossible to win it. And he said it was something like a Blobablasi Blablu or something like that was the name of the test, and so there's that. And then another one comes back and says, no, he knows for a fact what this is because he used to hack into his school's computer when he was a kid so that he could actually alter things around and play games. Because in the 20 billionth century, whatever we're in the 23rd century, I think that this is set, chat, the desire for kids to hack their computers and play a game rather than doing schoolwork remains universal. I think we can all
Yep.
agree that that's the thing. So there was that, and that this sounds like game code. So you get a lot of these sorts of suggestions from people. Although one of the things that you do hear from one of them is that it sounds like a regular code that they feel like they might have heard before. They don't know what the code is. They can't remember, but it feels like a standard one, like a galactically understood fragment, a fragment of a galactically understood code, they think. And so that could
seems
be
like something like we could easily cross-reference in like a database, right? Like just
Yep.
in just like our normal computer. So
Yes.
I'll have that promising cadet go ahead and run that code. And as for the others, I kick them all off the Discord.
but wait, they end up.
Yeah,
Like, they're just sort of like-
exactly. Like they are
Okay.
off my Discord, man.
Okay. That's going to lead us to, this is the free trader Beowulf calling anyone Mayday, Mayday, yeah. You have the one, they sort of feed this into the computer. In the meantime, Kaz and Petra, besides just sort of watching Sleepwell with this thing routed to the screen, what are the two of you doing to try to, are you making independent investigations, so to speak? Or...
Yeah.
Okay. What's the nature of it, Petra, do you think? Do you have another angle you want to take with it? And if not, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I have an idea.
I think it's a trap, so I'm trying to figure out ways to figure out that it's a trap.
That it's a
But-
trap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kaz will say to them, I'll look up and see if there's a maybe a database of ships that have gotten lost or something of that sort in this area of space.
Okay.
And that's what I will search up.
I'm going to take that in just a minute. I do want to say thank you, JLC, for the tier 3 sub again. I really appreciate
yeah.
that. That is very generous. I hope you're all feeling safe and feeling well. Have a blessed month. Same, JLC. I hope that you were doing well. I don't know if you've managed to get vaccinated yet. JLC works at a pharmacy, and they recently got the vaccines in. And so I hope you've been able to be vaccinated. But either way, as always, JLC, thank you not only for your support here, but for your work that you're doing, which is obviously hugely important to IRL. So thank you, JLC, and I really appreciate that sub. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's work through it this way. Let me start with Petra first, and then I'll work to Kaz, and then we'll finish with Sleepwell. Petra, when you were trying to determine, I know you were not really joking, you're trying to discover it's a trap. Is there a particular reference that you're going to be doing, or like trying to remember if there's this is the kind of crap Tazora used to do? Not that I'm saying Tazora did it, but I'm just saying, like, is this reminding you of that? Or
Actually, so I'm running a check to see if this is something that has been used in this area to trap people before. I'm kind of cross-checking to see if there's been distress signals coming from this area.
Okay.
Just sort of, and looking to see if any ships have disappeared unexpectedly.
So that's like what you and Kaz are both really kind of in the same.
So
same
we'll help
idea
each
there.
other. You know,
Yeah.
if I find something that doesn't really look like I would be useful to my range, I would pass it to her.
So in this case, I'm going to say whichever one of you wants to do let's call this a lore check, and whichever one of you wants to do that check, I will allow the other person to assist for +2. So one of you can do the check, and then you get a +2 from the other person. Because this is a situation where both of you are literally kind of assisting each other with a particular search. It's not your own independent knowledge. It's basically database searching is what you're both doing. So, yeah. So I'll say,
Zach, I've got a +2. How do you want to do it?
You're more intelligent than I am, so you go for it.
Takes a big Starman to say that.
But are you as wise?
15?
okay. So 15,
Well,
and that was not
yeah.
counting
with-
causes,
but
or
with advantage. Is it with advantage?
no, not advantage, just +2. So okay, so 15. Yeah.
Well,
so
she gets a +2 already from herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
oh, so this is okay. So
So-
that's not counting the other +2. So from Kaz, so that would be a 17 then.
Yes.
Okay, so with the 17, yeah, I think as you're looking into this, you do find that there are reports of ships which disappear here, and in particular, you find a couple of ships whose basically flight plan, if you will, that was filed. Essentially, the contact was lost with this ship at this point. The interesting thing you find about it is that each of these ships, and there are 3 of them that you can find records for in the last couple of solar years, were going to Bakuyu.
Oh.
Again, not a planet that most people go to.
Hmm. I would say we pass that information to Sleepwell.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hmm.
In the meantime, Sleepwell, you are, as you're trying to sort of refine this, I think once you get the information from Kaz and Petra, that probably would help to kind of narrow down a little bit, maybe, of what you're looking for and the codes you're looking for. So you're then able to sort of run those through some other databases. So here, I'm going to have you make this one. I think is going to be a lore check. I'll have you, well, yes, a lore check, because I think you can isolate it. It's figuring out what this is referring to. So I'm going to have you make a lore check, but because you've gotten the assist from Kaz and Petra, I'm going to give you not advantage here, but a +4 as someone knocks on my door. Yes. You going to bed, sweetheart? Love you, sweetheart. I'll see you tomorrow.
So I got a 16 there.
Okay. Yeah. So you think once you hear that from them, you're able to put 2 and 2 together. So there are ships that apparently have been lost on the way to Bakuyu. And you figure out once you put this all together that there is a specific galactic code. It is a galactic code that refers to the code name is basically code 39. And code 39, when you look it up you sort of check it out, code 39 is a very unusual and seldom used code. And it basically is the avoid this place at all cost because death. It's to paraphrase. It is a code that basically is supposed to be like, don't go anywhere close here. The reason it's so seldom used is because that's usually in the eye of the beholder, right? Like if you are someone who has a mega like warship, you may not care about certain places that other people would find dangerous. And on the other hand, there may be some cases if you're in a small scout ship, you know you can slip through a dragnet that would easily pick up a big warship. Something like this means it's dangerous to everybody. It means that like everyone is in trouble if you go this way, and it's very unusual. That's code 39. The other thing is that code 39 has to be issued somewhat officially. That is to say that this is something which governments issue, not individual people. But you cannot find which governmental body or governing system, or you cannot find which one did it. Like, there's some deep, dark lore, like, that it's not, that you just run straight into a wall about what actually ordered the code 39.
Right. So how far are we from Bakuyu at this point?
About a day and a half.
So we still have quite a ways to go. At this point, I'll relay this information and say, I think we go on red alert. We cloak and we, move as quickly as we can out of this area.
I like that. Yeah. Let's cloak. Cloak.
Okay.
And
I'll
move.
admit I'm a bit curious, but yes. Does the hyperlance I would love it eventually to get like a full kitted out stat block for what the hyperlance can do and like what its capacity is and all that. But yes, you have to depart for a moment.
Yeah, just for a moment. I will be right back. But the answer
Can we
is,
take a 5-minute break though? We haven't done that yet. Right?
yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it was a little early for that, but that's fine. I'm happy to do that. Yes, let's do our 5-minute break. You are
Sure.
watching day 59 of Esper Genesis Stormfall. Stick around, folks. We will be back shortly as Cat Rambo, Carlos Hernandez, and Zach Clay do their amazing work. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Heck yeah.
Amazing work.
Yeah.
Okay. So, welcome back, everybody. We are back. We will be with you for about 45 minutes or so. We'll close up shop around 11:45. I am mindful of not wanting to go too late, but I know we did get started a little bit later tonight than we had hoped, which is partially my fault and partially just everything happening. But welcome back to day 59 of Esper Genesis. I'm still here with the crew, although somehow the crew has become Destroyer of Worlds. Give me a second. I fixed it all. That's right. I fixed it without having to sort 6 different windows. Okay. But I'm back with Kat, Carlos, and Zach. So when we last left our heroes, you were down trying to figure out what was going on with the computer, whatever this is, message that you're continuing to get. So you figured out some details about some aspects of it, this code 39. And right as we were coming to a close, Sleepwell, what were you saying you wanted to, like, what was your, having determined that that's what it is, that it's some kind of code 39.
Yeah, so basically put the ship on red alert.
Red
So
alert and
basically
cloak, right?
everyone is awake and at their posts that we have cloaked, and that we are going to try to boogie on out of here as stealthily, yes, as quickly as possible.
Okay. All right. So you do that. Rona kind of, is... What is this? Kind of blearily sort of, stumbles up to the...
We fill her in.
So the ship the crew springs into action, and the Hyperlance does indeed cloak and continue to go forward. Several, I would say probably 10 or so tense minutes pass, where you are going very quickly, and nothing at all, is happening. And what happens is that as you're going, this echo that I mentioned that you experienced begins to get louder, and a little more intense. And you're now beginning to pick it up in other areas of the ship besides just the 2 that you've got, the vid screen and the robot. For example, on one of your sort of personal audio feeds, you're beginning to hear this echo, again, almost like a ghost, of this the message that's broadcasting, which means that you're clearly moving in the direction of the source of this message. As you are going along towards it, it is getting louder and more intense and more all-encompassing.
As if we're moving closer to it?
Right.
And did we determine that this signal that we're receiving, this weird Morse code, is code 39?
Yep.
Or okay.
It is code 39.
So code 39 is the red alert that they're trying to warn us with is getting even louder.
Yep.
Interesting. So it's probably being put off by the planet that we're heading toward. But we're just going to maintain red alert and head toward it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So code 39 is my vote for a new name. That's actually not bad. Okay. So you continue to do this, and for the next, you're able to, I should say, turn things down such that the echo is not like keeping you all awake, but the fact that it's present, like that you can, you can sort of, anywhere you look, basically, a lot of the vid screens show these things. It's, again, it doesn't seem to have any effect at all on like engines or like, it's not anywhere you are, exactly. Every breath you, every warp you take, every bit that you go, right, it gets louder and louder. But none of it is debilitating to the ship. Nothing has happened. No one is firing lasers at you. There's no engines are not affected. Navigation, nothing. But it's just this message continues to intensify. And it is probably when you're about 2 to 3 hours, so about a day and a half or so passes by with this happening, probably 2 or 3 solar hours away from the planet that Rona, this is now during the day, notifies you that she's started to get. She thinks she may have tracked down what might be the source of this message. And it is indeed Bakayu, but it's not Bakayu the planet. It is something, and you can't tell because it's still a couple hours, solar hours away of travel, something orbiting Bakayu that is giving off this signal. And you can't tell what it is yet because it's still too far away, but something orbiting the planet is sending off this immensely powerful signal, by the way. Like, again, you were a day and a half out before this started to happen. Even if it was faint, that's very powerful signal.
Just a quick clarification, like something so powerful that it has to be some sort of orbital installation versus a ship being able to do this?
Unclear. It could be. I mean, it's unclear. Most
it seems
normal.
like astrophysics would be a good check for that. Sorry.
You know what would be good for this? Astrophysics. And I want all the YouTube commenters to tell us how astrophysics would have been perfectly used in this scenario.
I'm just trying to do astrophysics justice because I feel like it's been severely dissed.
This is
over the
very
course
true.
of this.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Let's just championing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, ever since a brief period of insanity in American government in the early 21st century, astrophysics and many other aspects of intelligence were devalued. No, in answer to the more serious root of the question, the best thing that you, as far as you know, Petra, it would have to be any normal kind of satellite or something like that. Hey, hello, Unluckiest Gamer, by the way, I just saw you there. Any sort of normal satellite or something like that would not have the power to do this. And an installation would come across as a larger blip, because this blip that they're seeing, it's orbiting the planet, but it's not some enormous space base or something like that. Like, they can't tell exactly what it is, but they would be able to tell if it was an installation that large. So there is something orbiting the planet, and it is definitely not normal for this to happen. That something that is the apparent size of this thing is sending out a message of this intensity.
I just want to be on record that I don't like this. Go ahead.
Nothing.
Do we have a probe, a way that we can... I think I remember that the Hyperland sent out probes in advance before.
Yep.
I would like to do that. I'm going to ask Rona to please just, shoot a probe or 9 at this thing.
Or 9.
Or 9.
Okay. At the blip specifically, yes?
Yeah,
as well.
at
Okay.
the blip.
Okay. So you do that. You are able to send a probe out. And after you get closer, maybe this is like an hour out or something like that, for the probe, it takes about, it goes faster than the Hyperlance because of the nature of the system too. Also, I'm hearing typing. I think that might be...
Yeah.
Carlos, I think that might be you.
I was going to say earlier, Sleepwell's sending an email.
Yeah, I think we might be picking up on the typing.
I just had this thing, because we've been talking about astrophysics, and I just read this really interesting article by a New York University physicist who was positing that
Are you sure you're not writing that article right now?
So I just made a physics discovery, and I thought I would share it here before I put it on
remember seeing
RBAC.
that headline, by the way. Yeah, the guy who based it on geometry, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
That's all. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's very, very appropriate. I like the fact that you're like, I'll tell you what I'm typing. Kabam! Like space oriented. Okay.
Just waiting for this.
So when the probe gets close enough and starts sending back telemetry reports and things like that, one of the things that you note is, first of all, this thing definitely has the mass and overall, size and shape of a rather standard satellite. So it is, in fact, a satellite, definitely artificial. You can tell that there's sort of metal, it's made of, various sort of space-worthy steel and such materials. But there is one big difference between this and everything else. There is an extremely intense energy source that links the satellite to something on the planet. Now, the probe can't obviously go through the atmosphere and feed you stuff back. Like, it's not designed for that. This is a deep space probe. But the satellite definitely is A, normal-sized satellite, which would not be capable of sending a message that far, first of all. B, definitely is the source of that message. And C, is linked with some immensely powerful energy source that's connecting it to the planet.
Interesting. Do we get any readings of weaponry or other sorts of no weapons?
You
or
do not.
anything?
Well, you don't get readings, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. It's, like the probe can tell sort of conventional weapons, but you're already dealing with conventional stuff. This is already not conventional, right? Like this is already beyond that, but not anything you can detect as normal, no.
Right. So what I am wondering, and I'm saying this aloud, I'll paraphrase it for now as I sort of like think through the idea. What I'm wondering is if we can basically make sure that we are on the opposite side of the planet and remain opposite to this satellite as we come closer to Bakayu here. Meaning that we are being as far away from the satellite with a planet between us at every point.
I like this idea.
You certainly can do that shipwise, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
One note, though. Because the satellite is moving at a very good, it's orbiting the planet, and the planet is not super large, as I said, it's going at a pretty good speed. Now, the hyperlance can obviously keep, the hyperlance is the hyperlance. You can stay on the other side of the satellite. But to do that, it means that as you are going around the planet, if you go down and sort of like land with the hyperlance directly, which is what typically the hyperlance might do, the satellite will pass over. So like the energy source, basically, the energy source will eventually pass over. Theoretically, the satellite in the sky will pass over where the hyperlance is. If you're on the opposite side of the planet, staying in orbit around it, you can do that. That means, though, that you're then going to have to head down to the planet using other means. Now, there are ways to do that. There is basically a terrain vehicle that you can use to access the planet on its surface, and you can do that if you wish. It's not a particularly large terrain vehicle, but it's designed for on-planet exploration, and it can handle pretty difficult temperatures as well. The big problem, though, is that when you are sort of dropped off, if you will, by the hyperlance within this all-terrain vehicle, for the hyperlance to stay opposite the satellite, it means it's going to have to pass away out of range for a time of you, if you follow what I mean. So it's going to drop you off, and then it's got to keep going. And so it's going to take a little while before it comes back around to you. So there'll be periods of time where you would not be in contact with the hyperlance.
Right. I think you explained a lot of how this is working, but I think I would nip some of this in the bud, because if the thing is orbiting, and it's orbiting, let's say it's about, like 250 miles off of the planet's surface, sort of like the space station is, that means it circles probably, 16 to 17 times a day, like around it, at that kind of speed.
Right.
So if it does that, though, so like we can't see the space station in the United States at every time, because the orbit is not exactly elliptical, but it goes around and does this sort of thing. So what we would want to do is basically pick a point where the satellite wasn't there, basically. So if it does a circular or mostly circular orbit in like the just picking a point on a sphere at a 45-degree angle like this way, then we would pick a point like over here at 135 degrees that would be far away.
Probably
also,
do that.
to interrupt for a second, Johnny's in the waiting room.
Oh yeah.
So sorry that I didn't see that. Thank you. I did not see that before. Thank you, Zach. I hope he hasn't been there long, because
I don't think for two. He still has them.
Man,
I forgot we did.
Can't live it down. You really can't live it down, I gotta tell you.
I was like, did he move? No, it's just
okay.
Cat's background.
Give me 1 second,
wonderful.
folks. I'm going to. We have been joined.
Don't worry, Johnny. We were just talking about literal astrophysics.
Yes. What is your astrophysics skill? That's become incredibly important. When your astrophysics, when you've got proficiency in it.
It's the number one. We don't even worry about levels anymore. It's just astrophysics.
It's astrophysics.
Why are we so concerned about astrophysics? I need to understand this.
So
have you
I
seen
do have
Event-
proficiency in it.
Have you seen Event Horizon?
wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
I like Event Horizon.
Yeah,
It's not my kind of movie, but I liked it.
No, I was gonna say no. I'm joking. Just give me a second whilst I'm capturing your window.
Well,
you can explain.
I'll explain. So, we're on our way to Bakuyu, which is the planet of the guy who has invented the hyperlance and or the hunter. Bakuyu.
The joke that keeps on giving.
Yes.
I'm telling you, man.
When they make Bakuyu into very small, bite-sized things, we can chew Bakuyu. Anyway.
Oh, okay, I get that.
Yes. So we're on our way to that planet. We start getting some sort of weird code through some of the appliances on the hyperlance. Like my TV starts blinking in a regular pattern. One of Sleepwell's constructs starts speaking in a weird like radio static type thing that also has a pattern to it. We do some research, find out that it's some sort of galactic code 39 that is a universal government issued warning to steer away from this area of space.
39, dude.
Yeah, 39.
39.
And the closer we get to Bakuyu, the planet, the more intense the signal gets. And Sleepwell was just suggesting that we try to land the hyperlance or stay basically on a complete opposite parallel orbit of the satellite that we've found that's releasing this signal. But Kaz would say, if this is just a warning signal, why does it matter if we get closer to it or not, if it's just a warning? I'm pretty sure this is just some sort of preventative, this is sort of like that one tale that Aramis has talked about because he likes all that human stuff. This is like the Wizard of Oz, and he's the wizard, and he's set up the big, smoke screen like, ooh, stay away from my planet, code 39. I don't think it's actually dangerous if we get close to it.
I don't think, well, in character, Sleepo would say, I don't think we know either way whether it's dangerous or not, and it's kind of better if we don't, reveal ourselves before we want to be revealed, and this thing could detect us. So I think just avoiding it is smarter overall.
You're not wrong. Well, Sleepwell, you were explaining to us the extremely complicated maths of orbit analysis. Please.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
But before you go on to do that, though, let's have Johnny just quickly introduce himself since Johnny's here. Welcome, Johnny. I know we won't take too long on it. I know because we want to keep moving on here, but it is good to have you here. How are you doing? How's life? And I think we already know who you're playing, but you could just tell people quickly who you're playing if they don't know.
Aramis, the Ashen Forged Melder. Things are complicated. Sorry for being late. Life sort of invades. There's just too many things happening at once. So, that's just me. Ashen Forge Melder. I do have an astrophysics of +6. So I mean, if that helps us, what have you. And I'm really glad I was able to make it before the end of the session because it sounds like you guys have already had a really complicated game so far, and it's been quite entertaining, it sounds like.
That has. Also, as again, good work on this, by the way, mods. You will note that Johnny's Bystanders, which is a GM-less RPG, is currently on Kickstarter. And
I wasn't going to talk about that till the end, but thank you so much.
We are doing it right now, and I can see that we've already got some people that have jumped on board. So yes, pledge to this. This is part of the Zine Quest thing. I was talking about this the other day in association with one of Alligator Alley's things. They are also doing a Zine Quest thing, which is really cool.
Yes.
And so so now is the time for all good people to support these Kickstarters, and it will get you set for this idea. Oh, Kickstarter's a thing I should support in case a certain Kickstarter that's related to someone who on this channel comes up next month.
I have been wondering when that's going to be happening.
Rhyming with Blade, something like that. Anyway, but no, seriously, you should. And I actually had a chance to see an early version of Johnny's Kickstarter for this, and it's really, really cool conceptually, like really no joke, really cool. And so I want to see this thing get done. So yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to talking about it more, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it from me over the next couple of weeks. So
lovely.
We just launched though, so that's one of the sort of like things that all came together right at once. So yeah. But thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for talking about that. And I'll talk more about it at the end. So.
Sounds good. Okay, so now the elliptical orbit thing. So the just sort of quickly to summarize this last part. So you folks are now closing in on orbit around Bakiyu, but this code 39, thanks to a lot of good detective work from Kaz and Sleepwell and Petra, what's been discovered is that code 39 is being issued. You don't know what the government is that's issuing. It's supposed to be only like, governmental bodies, like large groups that are able to issue this. But this particular code is coming from a satellite which is orbiting the planet, which, first of all, satellites don't have the strength to be able to send something out at this distance. And yet this is able to do that. Secondly, a probe sent out by the Hyperlance, thanks to the clever thinking of your teammates, has indicated that it is definitely a satellite, an artificial one. It is definitely metal of some kind, but that it is conventionally sized and shaped for a satellite, but that it is also, there's an intense power connection between something on the planet and it. So there's an intense energy connection somehow between those two things. So Sleepwell's suggestion was that the Hyperlance go to the opposite side of the planet so as not to come into contact with that. And we were just talking about what would happen when you try to land on this planet. So what I'll say in response to that, Sleepwell, is you're right, and I think you can do it in such a way that the Hyperlance can land without being seen by that satellite initially. However, if you think about the way the satellite goes, and you can imagine that it's constantly, changing its orbit over time, eventually the satellite will cover all areas of the planet, right? Like eventually it will pass over where you are at some point. So what I would say then is if you want to take the Hyperlance down, you can do that for sure. Just be aware that there will be a kind of built-in time clock, I guess, on how long before you have to leave, unless you don't care that the satellite passes over you, which is fine. I mean, like that's, that may very well be the case.
And we can cloak still, yeah, because we can still cloak and do other disguisey things. So
Yes.
I think we'll cross that bridge. It was mostly just like I want to encourage us to avoid contact with the satellite and detection in general as long as possible.
So I have two questions about this given situation since I'm just walking into this, and I may have missed bits of the description, although that description was interesting. One, does it have like a weird cloud, and is all of these things like around it, kind of like disappearing inside of it? Is it absorbing Klingons? Is it named V'ger?
The criminally underrated first Star Trek movie.
It is criminally underrated.
It really is much better than people ever gave it credit for. Anyway, so
the second question I have is this the kind of situation where maybe what we want to do is, as we want to figure out the navigation, we want to figure out the path of this thing, and we want to navigate on the planet always being on the opposite side in constant motion. If we have to go down to the planet, we kind of drop some people off, and we have the Hyperlance itself continue to move in opposite directions.
This is what that's so funny. This is what I said was likely to happen, at which point Sleepwell was like, well, yeah, in character, Sleepwell was like, but wait though, because what about this? And so I think both of you were right. That was what I assumed you were going to do, was your suggestion, Aramis. But Sleepwell's logic is also quite true, that you could orient it so that the Hyperlance wouldn't be. So either one of those is an option. If you go down on the planet with this other thing, the Hyperlance could stay away from it, and then you don't have to worry about the Hyperlance being seen. Then it would just be your group that goes down to the planet that would have to worry about it. But then the danger is you would lose contact periodically with the Hyperlance. So
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna vote that we, basically just enter in an orbit opposite, but we bring the Hyperlance with us because, among other things, don't we need the Hyperlance? Like, I thought we had to have the Hyperlance with us to use its AI here, partially because when we get in contact with the good doctor here, we want him to basically help us figure out how we can use the Hyperlance to get where we need to go later.
Right, this is not the one with the base that you're trying to get into. That's that with the Hyperlance.
Right, but he's helping us prepare,
yes.
right, for that. So, I think he probably will have to look at the Hyperlance.
True.
Yeah.
Did we get an indication as to where on the planet we were going to be anyways? Like, what's the location, and is the satellite like over it right now, or are we?
You do not know where on the planet, and the planet, I will mention, is extremely cold. You know that from information that Kaz was able to give you. This is an extremely, extremely cold planet. It is also in a decaying orbit, Bakiyu, so it's gradually pulling further and further out, and in a few thousand years it will probably leave the Silrain arc completely. So that orbit means that it is at the very end, you are getting there at the very end of its so-called warm cycle, which is still super cold. In fact, so cold that there's not even like precipitation here in a lot of places, and it's just sort of like frozen tundra as opposed to, mounds of snow. But it's very, very cold and inhospitable. And there were supposedly these, there has been supposedly been life before that was found that was hostile, but of an unusual nature. Nobody comes to Bakuyu usually because they're supposed to. Although the other thing you didn't hear was that your teammates discovered, the crew discovered, is that the Code 39 thing, that there are 3 other ships that have disappeared en route to Bakuyu in the last few solar years.
How did we come by that information?
That was, I forget which one. I think that might have been Kaz and Petra were working together on that, I believe.
Yep.
To try to see if there were ships that were lost. And the answer is yes. And they were, their flight plans suggested they were headed to Bakuyu.
Well, he never gave us an indication of where to land. So if anything, when we start flying over the planet, we should, I guess, search for him, unless he's in the satellite, which would be weird.
Right, and we should also be scanning for big power sources. Like, almost
Sure.
assuredly, like, wherever that power source is coming from, dude's gonna be nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in the process of us having to scan the planet, that inevitably that satellite is going to run over us at some point. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not too worried about it. He seemed pretty friendly when you guys were talking to him, right? I mean, he invented this ship. I'm sure he's eager to see who has it.
He seemed a little weird. Like he
Wouldn't
was.
describe it as friendly.
Yeah. He was.
All right.
He was weirdly playful and eccentric, but not especially harmful seeming.
I
All right.
feel like this is going to be a game and continue to be a game until we get to whatever ultimate reveal that this person is going to present us with.
Yeah. So we try to enter orbit as opposite of the satellite as we can, and try to stay as opposite of it as we can while we scan said planet
Okay.
for power.
Okay.
I think is the plan.
Is that what everyone's on board with? That's what we're doing. Okay.
Yup.
So, all right, yeah, I think you're able to do that partly because the Hyperlance is able to, because of its maneuverability, is able to stay sort of opposite where the satellite is, and so the scanning begins. Now, question, how long do you want to take on the scanning, and are you focusing it on anything in particular? Like, are there any particular quadrants of the planet that you're trying to aim for? I know you said, Sleepwell, that like where the power is linked, that's where this guy might be. Are you focusing there, or like what is the plan?
Let's start by focusing there. We're going to be basically orbiting, very high up in the atmosphere, but we are going to be, following the trajectory of the satellite that spins around the planet 17 times a day. So basically going at that speed, doing sweeps of wherever we happen to end up, but certainly the first place we would look would be that where the power is coming from.
Okay. When you move down into below planetary orbits, you can scan the area. One of the things that comes up is that this place is real cold. This is like the millionth Star Trek reference that we've made this episode, but Rurapente. Okay, right? There is no frontier, no shields, right? I mean, like, it's just death is being exiled to the surface. It is miserable up there, down there, and so it is indeed as cold as advertised. There are life forms for sure, but they are rather indistinct ones, and this is the weird thing. They seem to be somehow connected to the readings that you have of geological movement on the planet, by which I mean you're able to see that like much of the world there are no bodies of water that you can determine. There's not a whole lot of water down there in the first place, but the water that there is frozen and no moving water or bodies of water, as I say. But there are definitely places where you think there are the sort of land that is moving, that you can see avalanches and stuff like that that's down there for sure. But the life forms seem to be corresponding to the places where you see geologic movement, like avalanches or little mini earthquakes or things like that. That's where you detect the life forms, which is a little odd. But the biggest form, the place where you find the most obvious sort of stands out from everything else, is indeed at the other end of that power connection, where you find what would best be described as some kind of building. It is not a particularly large building, but it has a very intense and focused power, essentially beam of energy that is shooting up to the satellite. And essentially the satellite and this thing seem to be in some way connected. In fact, you're not sure, but it almost feels to you as if this thing is moving with the satellite somehow, as the satellite moves around
The building
the
is?
planet. Yeah, or the structure, or the vehicle, or whatever it is.
How fast is it moving? Can we get a sense of that?
It's moving pretty quickly. In fact, it's moving fast enough that the thing above is sort of linked to it. It almost feels, if you had to guess, as if the satellite is pulling it, like with a tether made of
physical
energy.
tether?
Like made of energy.
Magnets.
Or something.
Or something, yeah.
One thing that's pretty obvious, this is sure as hell not a naturally occurring phenomenon. This has been engineered somehow.
All right. Well, is the
Only
building?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is the building big enough to land on? Like, is this the size of a warehouse, a football field?
No,
Is it the size of a?
It's not as big as that. It's probably the size of like, I don't know, maybe
A
like
grocery store.
Yeah, sure. Not a superstore though. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like a Trader Joe's, not like a
Yeah.
not a super
Not a
stop and
Costco.
shop, not
Not
a
a
Costco. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Not a BJ's. We're not a Walmart. You know, we're talking.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the
So-
size of a shoebox.
so
No,
yes.
it's bigger than a shoebox, Stormfall.
So yes.
Yes, you
Theoretically.
could. Yeah, but that'll be. I mean, that's some impressive piloting. But yes, because you're doing that through the whatever the wind storm,
Yeah.
that's blowing down there. But yes,
And this is the only structure that's made by a sentient life form of any kind?
what it looks like. At least the only one on the surface. There may be stuff in caves or anything below the surface, but not on the surface. This is it. And also, Aramis, you didn't see. I didn't mention this, but it's a pretty small planet, Bakuyu, as well.
Well, shall we?
Let's.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Rona encourages you to all, and I quote, buckle up. She says, all right, buckle up. This is going to be interesting. And so,
Okay.
assuming you all set your, so do you all like, where are you on? You on the bridge for this? I'm assuming, but. correct me if
Oh
I'm wrong.
yeah, we're gonna have the full shaking bridge
Yep.
action as we
Okay,
come
right,
in
right,
hard
right.
here.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Mhm.
I want some exploding computer panels.
Yes.
Or
Mhm.
I need
cry
everyone to
foul.
lean left on 3. Okay?
Exactly.
So, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so you all sort of buckle up and belt in, and the ship comes in. So it's, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Actually, now I get to use. You know what? I don't even have to use the combat. Now I get to use the surprise. Okay, so here is the surprise. I'm going to play for
Where should we
you
be
lovely
looking?
folks. Sorry.
Where should we be looking? Do
There's
we have
nothing to
the
look
stream
for.
open?
It's about listening.
Hmm.
I am going to play for you a
We need
brand.
to warn
Sorry.
Johnny that it's been coming up for a while. We need to kind of get Johnny up to speed by saying, Johnny, this has been sort of trembling on the edge of everything.
Yes,
all
yes.
evening."
Yes, we have been on the razor's edge of anticipation for this for a while, and and this is what this actually is is a new track from Greenforge Studio, which is part of a combat track set that he has put together, 5 tracks that Gabe Lefkowitz has set up, and we are licensed to use these songs and to use this music. And in fact, this music was done partially in consultation with all of us and with my campaigns. And so this is new, originally combat music, but it will fit for this also. And I just want to take a minute for us to listen to this because I think this is really badass. After which I will drop it down the volume and we can just get back into the game. But so this is the surprise for the players, specifically designed for space. I said specifically I need one as well for a space related game. So this is called Fight for the Future from Greenforge.
I love it.
Gets better.
Oh, and it's in 7/8, which is cool.
Yep.
I love that you could hear that. I was like, there are notes.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Grapefruit, pineapple.
Yeah.
This starts feeling like a Final Fantasy VII battle theme also at some point, and like...
I don't know. There was a little bit of Peter Schilling's Major Tom in there, too.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and then it gets... It just keeps building, too, like...
Yes.
Please note the guitar up on top. Right?
Yeah.
So...
Here comes the Hyperlance!
I know, exactly. I won't make everybody listen to all 5 minutes of it. I just wanted to, I mean, we're going to keep listening, but I won't like put it that high. But I was just super excited. So this is Greenforge Studio, Gabe Lefkowitz, and I'm telling you, this guy really knows what he's doing. Some of these are going to be orchestral soloists that he's doing with this as well. So, like, and he's the concertmaster of the Louisville Symphony, so that's why he's able to do all this stuff.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Good. So it's pretty slick. Yeah. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm not turning it off. I'm just turning it down. But anyway, yes. So I was very pleased. So that was my little surprise for the player. So this is almost kind of written for all of you, sort of.
That's
in the
great.
sense that I was like, do you have something for space? He's like, I will write one. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So we got some space stuff. So
That's
here's
so
the Hyperlance, people, as it's going through. So this is moving as you are. So the Hyperlance is in, and the minute you sort of cut into the atmosphere, you see what it is that Rona was warning you about, because the whole like it's kind of hostile down there was undersold. The Hyperlance even has some difficulty as the wind is blowing past the leading edges of the wings of the. You can hear now. This is the boss, the Final Fantasy boss fight part. Anyway,
That's so great.
as you're cutting through this, the thing is like wiggling back and forth, and the Hyperlance, despite its amazing ability to, control itself, is doing this. Also, as the vid screens pop up what's in the front of the screen, you basically just see white, and for a minute you're like, wait, what is this? And then as you get further down, you can see that this is basically not flowing snow, you think, but possibly just literal, some kind of cloud. Now, most of the time clouds are made of vapor, but an analysis of it shows that it may not actually be vapor. It may actually be what is essentially dust, like some kind of crystallized dust that is breaking. So you hear all of this like on the hull of the ship, even as you're sort of flying through it. And as you sort of do this spiraling course down, Rona is holding on as the thing is kind of, shivering left and right and shivering left and right. And then on the vid screen, you see this beam of energy sort of up to the planet. You can see that's sort of your target area. And Rona sort of yells back over her shoulder as she's doing this, "You've got to be kidding me, right? You want me to land there?" So it's like,
Yes.
God, frill everything. And so she does this, and then kind of cuts in below. And the ship at one point is heading like way, way left and then way, way right and like, you know, sort of zooming into it. And finally, as you sort of move along, she pilots closer and closer. She's doing a pretty good job piloting us on top of it. And finally says, all right, we're either going to run into it or we're going to land on top of it. And kind of comes in and then kicks it back. And there's is the crew screaming? Well, you can't hear what's happening in the rest of the ship. On the bridge, I'm sure all these ones are like, this is great. Yeah, right, like the roller coaster. Yay!
Yes.
Okay. And there's a bang as the ship touches down a little bit more strongly than might have been necessary. And they, as something kind of hits the outside of the wing, and then it stops. And so we're here. Only no one knows if we're actually going to get off this thing again, but we're here. And underneath you can feel your skin, all of your sort of skin, even Kaz, your outside of your suit feels tingly. And as you sort of look at the hairs on your arms, Sleepo, you can see that your fur, it's all standing up as if you are surrounded by static electricity. That's what it feels like. Not painful, just, you know, noticeable.
Kate, without using an ability, does it feel like Esper?
No.
Interesting.
So, you know, as I try to lick my fur down a little bit into some semblance of order, I'm like, all right, are we
The sleep well full fro.
Yeah.
Tesla
terrible.
coil.
Tony the Tiger, they're great.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm like, well, should we jump in our land vehicle here and have a look around?
Yeah, I'm sort of suited. No, I'm not. I'm not suited for this environment at all. Let's try to find a way in the building, maybe. Is that something also we could maybe probe for? Maybe Sleepwell, do you want to send one of your constructs to look for an entrance or something?
Yeah.
Well, we have a vehicle, so the vehicle should keep us fairly safe if we, stay close by. And
If I remember, that vehicle was a convertible.
no, that was the one that I made.
Right, that's right.
Right. That's not the ship one.
talking
I'm
about the
imagining this
Hyperlance?
is like, yeah, the one in the Hyperlance I'm imagining is as janky as the one in Mass Effect. That's what I've got in my head right now.
Oh yes.
So I don't actually. I don't
it's
know that
called
we've
it's
taken
called
it.
the FACO, and it's fine. Like I don't know,
It's
know what the
fine.
problem is.
So, yeah, I think we should all just get in the FACO.
Sure. Works for
Well,
me.
we're on top of the building, right?
Yes, you are on top of the building right now.
Why? I mean, what's the use of a vehicle if we can just walk over to the door? I mean, we have to find the door, but
It's mostly because we have to find the door, and I think we want like a portable, safe environment to take with us.
oh, yes, containment. I wasn't thinking about that. Okay.
Of all the people not to think about containment, your whole life is containment, Starboy.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how little I think about containment. Being a Bellari.
Can't
Sometimes
stop,
I just
Kaz. You
forget.
can only hope to contain it.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Sleepwell's plan is sound, not unusual.
Okay, oxygen is overrated. Exactly. Too. Okay, so Sleepo, your plan is to do. So I'm sorry. Then I guess I missed what the plan is. What was your plan?
We're basically using the terrain vehicle part of the Hyperlance to
Yeah.
cruise around on the roof and just see, without freezing to death, if there is an entrance.
Okay, keep in mind, there is not a lot of extra room on top of this roof with the hyperlance on it already. Because remember, you're on like a grocery store roof, the equivalent. So
Right.
there's not much
We just
room to
landed
like.
the Millennium Falcon on top of it.
Yeah, kind of. Like there's
Right.
not a lot of extra room. Like there's a little bit, but like the terrain vehicle, you can definitely do that for sure. You can be in the vehicle. I'm just letting you know that there's not a lot of room to maneuver with the hyperlance already on it. You know.
Sure. And
that's
then I guess like in terms of like the Hyperlance's landing gear, like I'm thinking Millennium Falcon. Like there's a point at which people could walk under the Millennium
Yes,
Falcon because it
yes.
has those tripods and stuff. So
That
I'm
is the
imagining
case.
we
You have
can
to
drive
crouch
under
for this, but yes, you can do that. That's right.
Okay, but could we drive under it?
Not really. This was there's a ramp that basically extends down from the hyperlance that allows the terrain vehicle to to head out basically. So it can do that. The ramp though kind of extends from the side of the ship, not from the underside of the ship. So it wasn't really designed to drive underneath it. There's probably enough clearance usually, but it would be tight. Like it wasn't really designed to do that. So
Yeah, we're gonna just drive slow and careful. We're just looking for an entrance,
Okay.
So
okay. All right. Who's going in this in the vehicle? Is everybody going?
everyone's going, and the androids.
Okay.
Yes,
Johnny
I have,
has
one,
some, yeah.
I have one thing before we do this. Was there any reason we didn't actually scan it since we arrived? Like why we haven't actually scanned this structure that we're on? That's this vehicle we're moving on.
I don't know.
I guess because we don't know how a scan works exactly.
Yeah,
but-
like
yeah.
scan for a door. Like what is a scan? Yeah, what is a
You
scan?
get a better understanding of what we're actually walking ourselves into. I mean, if this is a fast-moving vehicle and it's moving around the planet and it's attached to some tether that's up like a satellite, I'd like to at least be able to understand a little bit more about what we're actually getting ourselves into before we actually get ourselves into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Rona activates activates the scanner, you immediately get the equivalent of like just absolutely
Nice.
overwhelms the sensors, and Rona says, "There's no chance with whatever the energy thing is that's coming out of the building. It's overriding absolutely everything up here." And to go back to your point, Aramis, Rona says, this isn't. Well, actually, I guess you wouldn't have told her that. Because you were asking whether it felt like Esper. It doesn't, Aramis, but it is possible that this could be a form. Remember that Esper is usually a channeled form, right? It's a channeled power. This feels like an intensely powerful energy source, like Sorium, that has somehow been directed to be able to do what it does. So, normally you try to refine it into something, right? You don't just have a pure beam of it, like or processed by it to create the effect that it's creating. But that is kind of what this feels like. So it's overwhelming the ability to sense anything that's out there.
I want to use Esper Sense.
Okay. When you use this, I don't know. I would say that you don't sense any Esper powers besides what's the people on the ship. But you and your crewmates. But I don't know. You don't sense any of that. Not Esper powers, no.
All right, I'm going to keep it up as concentration as
Okay.
we make our way towards getting inside this thing.
Okay. You can do that. So when you get on then start driving around, you do indeed, after you go on a little bit, first of all, you find something which is a little bit sort of, so when you come out on the roof, the hyperlance is indeed landed and without a lot of room to spare. In fact, its back left leg, if you think of the Millennium Falcon landing gear that you mentioned, Carlos, like the back of it is literally like the back half of the left leg is over the edge of the building. So it's like, whew, but it's the rest of it's on and it doesn't look like it's going to flip over or fall. When you start moving the ship around, though, the other big, huge, notable item that is on the ship is that on the opposite corner from the hyperlance is this undulating, orange-lit beam, basically, that is extending from the building up into the sky where it is wavering and like sort of moving back and forth as if there were a balloon attached on the other side of it. Obviously, it's not actually, the satellite is not a balloon, but the point is it's obviously many, many miles that it's connected. This is difficult, even in 23rd, 24th century technology. The famous thing everyone talked about is like, oh yeah, it's like a space elevator. Like, there are so many technical problems with doing that, like no matter how difficult the material. This is not something I would say, even in this century, that is that common, figuring out a way to tether something from the ground all the way to orbit. And yet somehow this beam is doing that. And again, as you sort of, as the vehicle that you're in heads towards that direction very slowly, the frizzing experience, the static electricity feeling, gets stronger. Again, not in a painful way, not like your parts are going to explode or anything, but it definitely feels like the effect is greater.
Yeah, so I'm licking more furiously as we drive around.
Yeah, basically. Right near that spot, not right next to it, but fairly close, there is indeed what looks like a decent size, maybe 8 foot by 8 foot, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, door or trap door or something like that that is in the roof. It's distinct from the rest of the roof, and there is a clearly some kind of a handle that's in the top of it.
Okay, so I'll get everybody's approval. So I say, my idea is I'll send the quick constructs out to open the hatch for us.
Okay. So when you do that, when you send the thing out, first of all, the sound, like you can sort of hear the sound of it like intensely blowing. And I'm actually wondering, because of the intensity of the wind, whether I have to have your construct. I'm trying to think
You
about
have a
like
strength of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have it make a strength check, because it's not impossible to do, but it's not super easy without getting blown off course. So I'm going to have you make a strength check, please, for it. Not a saving throw check.
So it rolls a 17.
Yeah, it's able to do it. The little snow bunny that could makes its way around and sort of traces out this spot in the snow and then gets to the trapdoor. Now, you said you wanted to see if it could open it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it begins to pull up. I'm going to need to have you make another strength check here when it pulls up on it. It does seem like it may be frozen in place. Yeah, and it pulls up, and you can hear like a cracking sound. It might be ice, except as I said, there's not a lot of precipitation, but something is kind of holding this door in place. But you think it might be able to be done, but your construct is having difficulty.
I'm going to send out the other 3 to help it.
Okay. Let me have you make strength checks for those 3, please. Okay. So one of them is struggling. One of them's like, got it, boss, essentially, and then like blows all the way to the other side of the roof before it catches itself. But your other little space bunny that does make its way over, and then is able to try itself. So I'm going to have you make another strength check for that second one, but at advantage, which is fortunate. Okay. So that second one, it finally snaps open, and the door sort of flies up and over and lands, and a kind of orangish light streams from within of the building. And there is what looks like a set of essentially stairs, basically, leading down into the building.
Same orangish light as the tether.
I'm sorry, say again?
Same orangish light as the tether. Carlos, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was now just kind of like making sure that you were finished. I'm gonna command the quick constructs to take basically defensive positions down the stairs there, while we make our way there.
Okay, sounds good. Now, all of you what preparations are you making for the conditions? Now, it is true you're going inside, and it is definitely warmer inside the building. So are you going to do anything special? Probably this wouldn't have as much of an effect on Kaz, but I don't know what the rest of you in terms of exposure and all that stuff are worried about. Again, probably not an issue if you're just going from the ship into the building, but are you bringing anything else, or like just in case, or not?
I don't think I don't have much of anything that could help with that.
Continuing to maintain Esper sense.
Okay.
Yeah, just sort of like hustling, into what seems to be warmth, and then once everybody's in, maybe we'll pull the lid on this thing again.
Okay. All right. So you're able to make your way out of the building. The minute you do, it's like, like incredibly intense. Good night, Nordville. Incredibly intense cold. But you are out of it very quickly as you go down the ramp into what is indeed a warm building. You noted that within the building it is, it's not, you have breathers on basically to be able to handle because the atmosphere, obviously it's not an oxygen atmosphere out here. But inside the building, it does read as being oxygen-nitrogen balanced. And so you're able to get down to the bottom of the stairs, and then your droids, your constructs have made taken up these defensive positions. So you said you wanted to then close the door at that point once you're inside?
Yeah, I mean, we want to not lock it.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're basically just gonna shut it enough so that it's keeping out the cold.
Okay. So you do that, and when you do, the sound dies away. And you are now inside you're inside this building. And the stairs themselves, you seem to be in a decent-sized room. And there is one door on the opposite end that from this room. Inside this room, it should be said, there are a lot of what look like crates of various kinds. Many of the crates, though, are opened, and you can see that there are many parts that are spilled out on the floor. But there's a lot of things that are also have been built. Like there's a bunch of what you would describe, Sleepwell, as like half-built things. Like what looks like maybe half of a robot, and then there's another thing which looks like it's maybe a crane, but it was never completely finished. There's another thing which looks like maybe it's kind of some weird electrocycle, to come out of game for a minute, think Tron or something, but it's only half done. So there's a lot of these sorts of things. And then on the one corner, you can see there is this, as I said, there's a door in the far wall, and that far wall is near the corner, which is, if you're thinking about it spatially, is where the energy is emanating from.
You make any sense of these parts, Sleepwell?
I'm kind of looking, and I'm assuming that they're just sort of like, somebody who's an engineer has been, having some side projects that they're in various states of.
That's what it
if
seems
it's anything, if there's anything more, I'll be glad to make a roll. But I'm guessing that it isn't anything much more than that.
You're right. It seems to be mostly of that variety, yes.
Yeah, so it's just like we've got an engineer in the house here somewhere. I'm gonna have my the quick constructs take defensive positions by the door.
Okay.
Basically, in that kind of like they're flat against there, on either side of it.
Right. The classic. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Creepy Donnie Darko snow bunnies, doing that.
Yes.
So just remind you how terrible this is.
Okay.
And then, I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna kind of put my ear to the door and see if I hear anything.
Okay. I would like you to make a perception check for me, please.
$17.
So when you get to 17, you listen at the door. You hear the sound of some kind of, it might be a whirring or some kind of like a not an alarm sound, but like something is whirring as if a servo is repeatedly spinning up and spinning down again.
And I relay this information immediately to the rest of the crew. To the rest of the mercenary sunshine crew.
Is that what we're on now? The mercenary
What?
sunshine. Yeah.
While you were sleeping, Aramis.
We came up with group names.
We have things. You had things like the random elements.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, there was
Wild card.
wild cards. That was a big
I'm
one.
surprised that the inflatable air mattress did not come into this conversation.
Oh, the
The
inflatable.
Oh my
inflatable beds.
god. We have
That's
to be
it.
Petra and the air mattresses.
Well, there was a suggestion
Wow.
of right. It was Petra and yeah, exactly.
We were trying to take the high road, Johnny. You've dragged us back down. So that's
Mm.
Well, you drag me back down all the time too with that damn thing.
Okay.
laugh so much my face hurts again. Okay. Go ahead.
Kaz will
Carry on.
go to the door and will open it.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So the door slides open, and you find that you are in a small room. On one side of the room, as you look to the right, there is a transparent. It's a window, I guess, but it's obviously made of stuff of harder stuff than that, some kind of plexiglass mixture that allows you to see through it, and you can see this waving orange beam, which is clearly emanates from that room. So it's like looking in at a reactor or something, right? That's the room. That's the window you can see to the right in this room. Looks in on that beam, but to the left, you can see a set of control panels. And there is a chair in front of the control panels. And you can see that there is as you're looking there are a bunch of, blinking panels and buttons and everything. And as I say, it's, reasonably warm in here, more or less. And that would be the thing you note most, were it not for the presence of a figure who is currently slumped over the panel. He holds in his hand what looks like the equivalent of some kind of disc, or it looks almost like a big cred stick almost. And he's holding it in his hand, and he's slumped over. He is very clearly quite dead, and has been quite dead for a long time, because his body looks like it is basically kind of almost molded into the paneling at this point, by which I mean like his body is decayed into the paneling. And standing behind him, looking directly at all of you, is Alfred, or at least something that looks a lot like Alfred. And Alfred looks at you and says, "Wonderful! You've come just as I hoped. He always said it would happen. And now you're all here." Wow. And that's where we're going to bring our session to a close for today.
Yeah.
Ooh. Where is our combat?
I know. Listen. Yeah.
Well done, Zach. Well done.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I'm just
I
kidding.
was not expecting that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and I listen. I wish the combat was not going to work this way. However, we got a chance to at least hear the music. I know we will see what happens. It's not my fault that you all keep coming up with interesting things that maybe have more diplomatic implications. I don't know. You're in a weird planet on a icy world. I have to say, I'm very much, since this is the Star Trek episode, apparently, I'm very much inspired in this feeling of what the body looks like by, if anyone saw, there's an episode of the original series called The Naked Time, where basically there's this stuff that acts like alcohol. It's like a virus that gets into your bloodstream, acts like alcohol, and it almost destroys the Enterprise until they figure out what's going on, whatever. But when they first beam down to the planet, the people that are there basically went nuts and turned off all of their life support systems. So they basically are like frozen into the panel. That was kind of the image that I had in my mind of what you're looking at. So, yeah. And, of course, a perfectly functional Alfred, or so it seems. But it's not like any Alfred you've ever seen. Anyway. I am so excited for the next session. I can't wait to see what you all do. I'm going to start with, first of all, Zach on the far right of the screen. Zach, it was great to see a lot of the stuff that you were doing a bunch of things that were like, let me assist with this, alter this, affect this. And I had this very big, like, sort of Stranger Things Tales from the Loop moment as I was imagining you looking at the flashing screen and trying to ascertain what it actually was. So it was fun seeing Kaz try to work through what all of that would theoretically mean. And yeah, you did a lot of work not just with Sleepwell but also with Petra too throughout this. So how did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks see you next?
Well, you saw how I felt about today a few minutes ago. That was very interesting. I don't know what else to say. We arrived at the planet. What a presentation. We didn't know anything about everything we saw today before today, which is very interesting. So you did a good job framing and like letting us all learn this information. It's that one episode where suddenly you get thrown in a planet and there's all this stuff and there's this person and there's this, but
thank you.
Yeah,
well, you all
I
wanted
love
to
it.
go there, so it was
Yeah.
your decisions to go there that led to you go explore is what you find, you know.
I'm very curious as well to see what we glean from this. But yes, I'm Zach Clay. I'm a guy that does stuff on the internet, including music and RPG stuff and D&D stuff and voice acting stuff and stuff. So if you like that, then you can find me where you would expect to find people on the internet, like here or on YouTube or on Twitter, and that's about it. And I'm in our vocalists on this channel,
Yes.
and also a part of a cyberpunk campaign on Unmade Gaming. And that's it.
And NeoCab is faintly cyberpunky
Yes,
and
it's
dystopian
so
also,
good.
so it's like really kind of cool stuff as well. Live suing, you're not the only one who wants to watch the animated series. I was commenting at one point with a certain prominent author who will not be named, but may have had a prominent role in a certain organization that rhymes with Blifwa that at one point suggested that there might be some interest in writing stories of this crew. And the thought of doing an animated series of Esper Genesis with this crew is freaking awesome. I would love to see something like that.
Yep.
Oh man, it's like you know Firefly without the reactionary politics. Hey-o. Anyway.
Ow.
Whoops. Anyway, but I would love to see that live soon. But Zach, always a pleasure. Thank you. And yes, you should definitely check out Zach's work. And if you haven't seen the tweet that we were joking about before that has made Zach a internet celebrity now, you should definitely check out my retweet of it or Zach's. It's Zach's Twitter. It's pretty awesome. Like seriously, Zach is a good musician and a good player, and it was really cool sort of like setup, and hopefully that will continue his inevitable rise to glory. But anyway, Thanks, Zach. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Also, always a pleasure to have Carlos with us, who, as always, now Sleepwell had a fair bit of stuff to do because there was so much like computerized stuff, and the constructs, this time the snow bunnies, had a lot to do and figure out also. And we got to even get in some discussions of like the nature of time and how orbits work. And I feel utterly out of my depth, I want to say. And I have a feeling that like anyone from NASA is going to be like, Arv is a moron. It's like, I apologize to anyone that I offended with my lack of astronomical knowledge. Anyway, but as certainly the lack of astrophysics as we discussed today. Carlos, but good stuff today. How did you feel about today's session, and where will the lovely folks see you next?
Oh, it was tons of fun. I mean, this is just such a fun crew. We just have a great time together. And so small moments become hilarious moments like all the time. You know, that's one of the things that I think would make it such a good, like either animated series or story or whatever. It's just like, it's the badinage, the persiflage, the constant, like, you know, back and forth in all the conversations. And everybody's so good at their characters that you have all of this character generated interest that comes. So it was really fun. And it was, you know, a lot of problem solving and a lot of like, you know, the planetary approach sort of thing that ends up with a freaking fully functional Alfred.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yes,
so
yes.
yeah, it's like this is an excellent cliffhanger, and I cannot wait to see where we go with it. I'm doing like a bunch of readings, and I am doing a lot of game design right now. One of the things I'm doing is I have a small group of graduate students that I'm guiding through the process of first time game designs. And that inspired me to try something I'd never tried before, a short journaling solo RPG. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but here it is at the end too. Basically, if you are interested in taking a look at it, I would love to have feedback on it. It's just like a 2-pager. It kind of looks like lasers and feelings. I was trying to get the rules really elegant and trimmed. But yeah, if you want to play a solo journaling RPG about trying to make a tightrope skywalk between 2 skyscrapers, you could play here. And if you want to give me a little feedback, there's a Google form for you to fill out. So I'd love to have feedback. In the meantime, I'm going great guns with developing the role-playing game I'm working on with my wife Claire, and on Sunday I go great guns back to working on the novel that is, I hope, going to be my next middle grade novel. That starts on Sunday.
Ooh, exciting. Awesome. Good stuff. The fans demand more. Demand more awesome middle grade novel work. Thank you, Carlos. Good stuff as always.
Thank you.
Moving right along, Kat, again, really good stuff as well from Petra, who did a lot of stuff there was a lot of problem solving in this that, even if it didn't involve swinging hammers, absolutely involved figuring out how to address certain issues and how to deal with certain problems and stuff like that. So it was very much connected, it felt to me, with what everybody else was doing here, in a positive way. And although we didn't get to combat yet, that is, I have no doubt is coming. That, in fact, I know it's coming. But I think that was really interesting to me to see it, Petra be able to step forward and to be able to provide, since everybody obviously respects Petra, to be able to provide suggestions about, here's how we do this. Like, again, you working with Kaz, for example, to figure out the thing, and both of you independently were like, we're going to figure out this thing about the ships being lost and all that stuff. That was something which demonstrated, I think, that problem-solving quality of Petra, in addition to, obviously, the combat prowess. So it was neat to see that. How did you feel about today, and where will the lovely folks see you next?
I thought it was a delightful time, as always. I think we've been playing for over 2 years now,
We have.
and one of the things that I think has just been really fun is how much, I don't know, the various in-jokes and the way that we work together and just sort of knowing each other's styles. And I hope that the amount of fun that we are having translates to the people that are watching as well. Petra got some baking in, so that's
and the baking,
awesome.
yes. I mean, listen.
Other than that, I continue to be around the internet most of the time. If you want to follow me, one of the places where I am is the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers, where we teach all sorts of things that are aimed at speculative fiction writers, including game writers, if you're interested in game writing. So I just want to say how much I enjoy this game. I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It's a lot of fun.
I'm glad. I super appreciate that. Well, I remember approaching, and it's actually, Johnny's right. I think it's 3 years. When I approached, I remember talking to Kat about this, and I was extremely excited when I got Kat on board because, obviously I have enormous respect for Kat as a writer, but I just felt that Kat would fit in really well. And what I was hoping was, I was like, because everyone's always the same way. Amal El-Matar was the same way too, where she was like, she's like, I really want to do this. I don't know if I have the time. And then she said to me the other day, she's like, I'm so incredibly glad I did this game. I'm so excited to do this game. And she's like, everything else has to work on my schedule around this game. And I'm like, yes, I've got them locked in, and that was I really wanted to make sure I didn't lose them, because the chemistry of this group is really lovely, and I'm so excited for it, because Star Trek has a big meaning to me, and that part of what makes the original series work for me is the chemistry in that crew, and so I love seeing the kind of banter here, except like more modern, obviously, but I love the banter that we get here from this crew, and the sense of chemistry, and the fact that everyone's able to work with each other, not just in jokes, but in sort of advancing each other's characters. So it's a lovely ensemble performance, and Kat's a big part of that. So thank you, Kat, again, for continuing to be part of the game. I'm really glad that you enjoy it. And moving right along, last but certainly not least, Johnny, I know you had stuff going on, as we said, so you weren't able to join till, later on, but everyone was glad to have you back because, again, obviously Aramis has a big part to play in all of this. And, and again, I'm very excited to see how Aramis is going to manage not only with this, but I set up at the very beginning all of the threads you've all thrown out there now that are at some point you're all going to want to pull on some of these threads. So when the threads come that each of you pull individually, I'm excited for that too. And seeing your thread regarding the Matakai and the Batera and all that business is going to be neat also. But as far as this session, how'd you feel about today, and where will the lovely folks find you next besides your awesome Kickstarter, which you're going to talk about?
It's interesting walking into the middle of a session. In this particular group, it's incredibly satisfying because there's so much of an ease of camaraderie and sort of hanging out. To the whole aspect, it just feels like jumping right back into the pool with a bunch of friends, kind of a thing. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much, you guys, for kind of bearing with like sort of the chaos that was going on in the background for me and being available here to kind of just jump in. You guys did fantastic, it sounds like, so far, and I'm really glad I was able to kind of come in at the end and give whatever sort of I could at that particular point. As always, life is really complicated, and I haven't been talking a lot about the things that I've been doing on this channel previous to this, but now I'm sort of like hitting in a big push. The big thing I'm doing right now is Bystanders, which is the Kickstarter that was just, we were alluding to. And Greg, thank you for, when coming on, thank you for talking about it and kind of sort of like letting me know, or like giving me a chance to really kind of like plug that real quickly there. And,
you got a couple more backers too, by the way. You're up to 192 now.
I did see that. Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to digging into the details once we get done here and starting to sort of like, again, begin to like plug in and look at ways to sort of expand this and do all that. Anyways, it's been a big part of my life for the last like 2 weeks. So again, thank you for the review that you did early on. A bunch of the stuff changed because of that. Besides that, I'm coming back to streaming in full force. Right now I'm doing sort of this 28 days thing where I'm running some essentially some videos of slides that are all about accountability and various aspects of changes that are coming to the channel. And then I'll be coming back in full force in March to do that as well. Also in support of trying to bolster the Kickstarter campaign as well. And there are a couple other things in the pipeline. I'm not really quite sure what's next. But the one thing I do want to acknowledge with respect to the Kickstarter is that's not just me, but it's actually me and my partner, Chris Ann. We've been working on this game for a while. And it's really kind of a neat thing to kind of work together. Carlos, you and Claire are sort of an inspiration in that way, the way you guys are online. So it's fantastic. So thank you so much for being that inspiration.
Yeah, best Twitter couple is 100% Carlos and Claire. There's no question about it.
Very much so.
Yeah, two very able, nice people that have found each other. So those are always good stories. So I'm glad to hear that, Johnny, about this. And yes, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how Bystanders turns out and how Kickstarters turn out. I have a theory that over time, I think that as we begin to move continually in the direction of the virus receding and more people get vaccinated, etc., and we see a light at the end of this very long, cold tunnel, I also get a sense that certain Kickstarters and creative projects are likely to do quite well because I think people are just so desperate to get back to a stage of feeling like they can rejoin the human community. And so it's good timing, for people who are starting to get into this now as well, which by the way, we still have a long way to go, but we are making progress now. And thank God for that. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
I was just going to say, Kickstarter even posted something, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where they were talking about the fact of should people actually continue to create projects on Kickstarter and do funding. And it's very clear that there is momentum still in that area, even though, it's very hard for some projects to be able to launch and be available because of that sort of in-person need or what have you. But there are so many other projects that are doing quite well because they are providing, at the same time that they're, there's this level of isolation or that we're all facing, and yet they're still doing well. They're still funding. People are still being creative. People are still engaged in other people's sort of creative endeavors. So it's really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, this is kind of a lifeline. Like I
am not the new captain.
The problem is, Johnny, you showed up about this like 3 hours late. Like it was sort of declared multiple times, and then you
All
just
right.
So like Aramis is
There
the
was-
new captain.
there
I
was a
love, by the way, how
ship-wide
this
vote.
crew is the only crew in the world that does not want themselves. Just like, can someone else be captain? Like, I'm sure at some point the rotating captaincy will go to Sleepwell, and then Kaz, and then like
Yeah,
the dog. Like at some point, I assume
the
everyone's
inflatable bed.
The cat.
We got a dog.
We've
Uh,
had
We
a
had
dog.
a dog.
the robot
yeah.
dog. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah, the robot. The air mattress. Like I assume the air
But
mattress.
we
is
did
gonna
get
take
an
its turn.
actual dog too. No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, we've had that dog all along, and I think it's very sad that you neglected that. But
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing your adventures as the new captain. All right.
Oh man.
Oh, I better start drinking again.
It is a great pleasure to play with this crew. We are going to try to get in on our 2 sessions next month if we can. We wanted to do that this month, but obviously illness prevented it. But we will definitely try to do that if we can, as things are moving forward quite a bit. And so again, thanks to these pioneer players as the pioneer campaign of Esper Genesis continues to move forward. This is why you always attend the committee meetings. Exactly, Triffid, exactly. I want to thank this lovely crew as always, and I'm very excited for what happens in our next session next month. So thank you as always to Chat. We get some love for Johnny Pittman, to Cat Rambo, to Carlos Hernandez, to Zach Clay. As always, players, a pleasure and an honor, and great stuff. And I'm going to see you folks next month.
And thank you so much, Greg, for
Yep.
great GMing.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And bye for now, folks.
Bye, Felicia.
And that is going to do it for the first crew with the shortest straw is the captain. Exactly. So yes, so I don't know whether Greenforge Studio is actually in chat or not. I feel bad. I don't mean to call out Greenforge when Greenforge is lurking. The only reason I was doing it in these cases, though, is because I want to basically send out more credit about how freaking badass the music is. I'm very lucky that I've worked with some wonderful musicians and creative people on this show. I've been very lucky to be able to do that. And honestly, like the opportunity that I've had to work with people like this is very exciting. Like the combat song was somewhat shaped by our feedback, by my feedback, and that was really cool. And obviously, I mean, the music is wonderful and all that. And you should absolutely, if you are interested in this kind of music, if you're running your own DM campaigns, you should definitely look into the possibility of buying or licensing this music from Greenforge, because we want to be able to support creators that are doing good work. And this is an example of someone who's doing that. So I am going to be, as I said, I've licensed this work. In fact, there's an agreement waiting in my mailbox that I'm going to be checking today or tomorrow that has that licensing agreement, so I can license it for use in my campaigns. And I want to be able to do that with more stuff. And so I want to spread the word. I want to spread the gospel of Greenforge, because they really have done good work. And the more music that we get from them, the better it is for everybody. So I want to thank Gabe and Greenforge for being awesome as always. I also, of course, want to thank my wonderful players. And also I want to thank all of you, chat. We had a solid turnout today. And we also had a really good feedback and back and forth from chat. And that's great. And that was despite the fact that we got started a little late because of things that were happening, and so all that kind of business. So I want to thank you, and I give to you much Mandalorian / Baby Yoda love, so you can see that for yourselves. So stream-wise, or schedule-wise, I should say, I am going to be back tomorrow, or later today, I guess, at 7:30 p.m. Well, between 7 and 8, but most likely 7:30 p.m. Eastern, for Inkle Sorcery 3, The Seven Serpents. Been having a great time with this game, because you, as chat, get to be the ones who actually make the decisions, and we get to play this wonderfully designed game from Inkle. So if you want to play more of this with each other and me, then you need to be here tomorrow at 7:30, where we can do that. It's really, really a fun game. Then on Sunday, for those of you who missed this announcement before, on Sunday we have, let me make sure that the same thing, nope, that's not it. On Sunday, we have got a special Blades in the Dark one-shot, but I want to find this so I can make sure that I link it properly. Okay, no, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. That's what I wanted. So our good friend Michael R. Underwood, Turbo Tango, is going to be running a one-shot of Blades in the Dark. Here it is. set in the world of M.A. Carrick's Rook and Rose series. Now, I obviously have to read the Rook and Rose series because everyone keeps talking about how incredible it is, and I have not read it, I have to say. So I have got to make sure that I read it, ASAP, because, like, obviously I'm missing out. This is not something which is necessarily associated with Speculate. I believe this is just something which is being hosted as a special one-shot and being hosted on my channel, and I'm happy to do that, especially when we're dealing with this. This is like up the alley of what we do with the channel. And so that is going to be happening at, I believe it is 6 p.m. Eastern, as I already closed it and completely forgot. It is what time? 6 p.m. Eastern. So at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, I will be hosting that here, and that'll be literally the last day of February, the last day of Sunday. That'll be Sunday, the last day of February, and so that'll be it before Inspirations reset, and it'll also be it for the month of February. I've already started to put together some stuff for March, but I will have more of that put together over the weekend. I'm going to be putting out the schedule. I'll be sending out a tentative schedule for March. March is going to be crazy go nuts for me. I am moving in March in a couple of weeks and talking more about the house. I'm so excited about this house and sharing the information about it with all of you once we close. So we're moving to this new house. I have got my vaccinations are going to be happening in March. I have an appointment for the first one, and then the next one is 3 weeks after that. So I have an appointment for those. And then I also have my wife actually and mother-in-law got vaccinated on Thursday. So I'm going to be doing the same thing next week and then 3 weeks later. So I'm doing vaccinations then. And of course, we're launching the Gray Shade Kickstarter in March because this is the way I roll. Let's put everything exciting that's happening all in 1 month within within 1 4-week period, because that's really smart. That's not what I intended to do, but it's going to work out that way, and it'll be fine, and it will all work out, and it'll be great. But that's going to be Gray Shade. So it's going to be really busy in addition to all of our awesome stuff that we're doing with the channel. 2 Esper Genesis sessions, Adventures of Middle-earth sessions, Infinity and Beyond sessions, Palace of the Red Pasha, not to mention Community D&D, not to mention Emberwind, not to mention the return of Grumbler's Guide with Sod, not to mention we've got Metroid Prime going on next month. We have the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month next month. We've got the Our Vocalist next month. We have got D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. We've got Talisman Adventures next month. So we got a lot going on for March. And during all of that, I'm also going to be submitting my middle grade novel and my nonfiction project to agents and publishers, as I'm continuing to do, because I'm dumb, basically, is what this all comes down to. No, it's okay. I mean, this is all important. It's all stuff that is sort of fit into the overall schedule. It's just I didn't expect it was all going to come at once, but that's the way it goes, and that's cool. So exactly, CQ. It is a lot for March. That is the case. But the good news is that the Kickstarter is being run, although obviously it's, this is about Gray Shade, which is my work. It is being run by Clarion Game Studios, and then each component of the Kickstarter is run by its own group. So my part of it, which is the writing of the books, I've already written 2 of the books out of the 3, and I've outlined the 3rd fully. And so it's just a matter of editing and responding to edits. And that is being handled by, and I talked a little bit about this already, that is being handled by John Helfers, who's doing the edit, and someone else we're going to talk more about very soon, but they have a strong publishing presence and are connected with this channel in other ways. So you'll get to hear more about that. So anyway, that's my part of it. So that's not going to be as bad during March, certainly, I would think, because there's, obviously I'm going to be promoting it a lot, but and there'll be streams on the channel about it naturally, but it's not like I have to do all the heavy lifting on my own. So that's the good news about that. And then all the other things is just kind of, vaccinating, make sure that I, watch myself and do the right thing and, go there and handle my not being a big fan of shots and, just try to, prepare myself for whatever is going to come. And then obviously the move is a matter of the whole family working together. And the other end of it, I mean, as I say, I was actually up in the area that we're moving to. And the other end of it means that we get a place that we really feel good about, that the whole family really loves, and in a neighborhood that the whole family really cares about and loves. And it's going to be great. Like it's the end of this. I see the horizon, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a nice light that's getting brighter and brighter at the same time that the vaccines are increasing, and we're beginning to see something on the other side of this disaster we've been living through for the past year plus. So anyway, so that's what I'm holding out hope for. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Dragon. I'm glad that you believe in me. So yes. Anyway, but that's going to do it for me for today. And I do want to remind everybody, if you didn't already do so, please follow the channel. Check the YouTube at !ArvTube. Please subscribe to me over there. Again, really trying to build the subscriber numbers over there because that really makes a difference. Thank you, Live Sewing. I appreciate that. !ArvCord is the Discord channel. Please join us over there. That is, all of these things are free that I have mentioned. Please make sure to check out my Twitter, also free to follow me there. I am not going to be doing superpower tweets, like paid tweets that Twitter announced. I don't know, maybe someday I'll be like, look, you can support me on the Patreon or you can support me on Twitter. Maybe I'll do that someday. But anyway, you don't have to worry. Right now, it remains the low price of free. So ! Arv tweets for that. And then, of course, the website for all of this is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, ! Arv shop is my merchandise area. I'm going to be making some adjustments to that soon. But in the meantime, you can get Infinity and Beyond, Adventures in Middle-earth material, and soon to be Esper Genesis stuff over there as well. ! Arv Treon is the Patreon, sitting at 22 patrons, $2.34 per month. That, again, has been ticking up over the last month or so, and you want to keep that moving up because, again, you can get unique stuff at the Patreon that you can't get anywhere else, and it really does help underpin the channel and get us towards various channel goals as well, and so all that stuff is good, including inspirations to help the players and stuff like that. So please consider jumping on board there. And last but certainly not least, of course, that sub button also allows you to get inspirations for the players, plus custom sub badges and emotes and things like that. JLC was kind enough to subscribe again at tier 3, which is really appreciated. And a number of you have done that, have supported at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, given gift subs and all that. And I cannot thank you enough because that is, I'd like to think, not just a mark, a vote of confidence in me and what I bring to the channel, but a vote of confidence, hopefully, in us, in what the Arvanauts do and what our community does. And I'm proud of our community. I've said, God, how many times, countless times, I've said how proud I am of the community we've built here and continue to build, because it has real life profound effects, I think, on the way that we live our lives outside of this channel. And that's a ripple effect thing that can help others. So hopefully that will continue because of all the awesomeness of all of you. So thank you for the support you give the channel that way. Lastly, on the publishing side, ! Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. More details about that coming soon. ! Library, Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. And I'm glad, Configuration Queen, I really am, because we really try to push that feel. So I'm glad that you become a part of it. Thank you for being a part of it. And obviously I feel the same way about Triffid, but Triffid knows that. I've told her that multiple times too. ! Library, Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library is in digital form and drive-through RPG. It's sitting in the dock, I swear. Does anybody know anyone at US Customs? Can anyone just be like, hey, I know you have to do this thing and like whatever. Can you please just like release these books? Maybe, does anyone have like a cousin who works in customs? Like, please, God, just release the books. Anyway, once that gets off the dock, we're going to be able to ship them to all of you because they're done. They've been done for months. But in any case, in the meantime, it's available in digital form on drive-through RPG, the 5e Adventure and Sourcebook, and there's really a lot of cool stuff there with a lot of people that are doing some big things in the industry. And I have a big adventure in there, which is the sort of centerpiece of the book. So very proud of that book. And you can find that again at ! Library. And of course, ! Grayshade KS, again, that aforementioned Grayshade Kickstarter, which is launching next month on March 16th. Finally, ! BLM, Black Lives Matter, because it is important to assert and affirm that they do, and to be able to continually protect people. That's part of being a community also, is to protect the members of the community, and to note when one particular member or set of members of that community have been singled out. And that is what Black Lives Matter is all about. It's important about protecting Black lives, and that is what that link does. It also gives you a place for places where you can donate resources, learn about political advocacy, education, and stuff like that. And ! Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. That's also super important. If you are reaching out to others because they need help, you need to do this to reach out to others when they need help, and reach out to others when you need help as well. Please do not suffer in silence. Reach out to someone that you care about. Reach out to someone here, because they, even if they are not themselves experts, can hopefully try to point you in the right direction, and at the very least can let you know that you're not on your own. That is what we try to do here, and it's really important. So please consider reaching out to people that way. So the only other thing I need to do is let you know about a raid we're going to do. So raids are like this. If you are not a sub, you're going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you are going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, Arvany hype. There's Twitch raid, again, Arvany roar, Arvany woe, Arvany witch, Arvany what, Arvany love, Arvany smug, a lot of Arvanys, Arvany witch, I think I already said. All of that you can throw over there, and all of that is appreciated. It's good for them, and it's good for us as well. Sorry, I had two things up here. It's good for them and it's good for us as well. So please consider jumping on board and being a part of the raid that we are about to do. And let me just double check quickly and see who we're going to raid today. Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? Going to raid someone awesome. Who's it going to be? Who's it gonna be? I think I know who it's gonna be. Maybe. Okay, I want to make sure that I have not rated this person for a long time. Okay. Okay. I know who I have to raid. I have to raid this person. Partly because of the nature of what they're doing right now. I have to do that. So, we're going to go raid those people. So, I want to thank all of you for being lovely and wonderful people as always. And I am going to see you wonderful folks here. Let me just a second. Go like that. And then go like that. I'm going to see all of you wonderful folks here again at 7:30, between 7 and 8, but probably 7:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for Inkle's Sorcery 3, The Seven Serpents. I want to thank all of you for being awesome today. Thank you to Arudinel, to Dragonspear, to Rock God, and Trifity Mats for being the best mods in the business. Thank you to my subscribers, Arudinel, Dragonspear, Rock God, Trifity Mats, Nonstop, Configuration Queen, Divinorium, and Galadriel Bot, which is totally not a bot. Thank you to all of you lovely people for the subscriptions. I really do appreciate that. Thank you to my viewers as well. Costello, a Jolly Gamer, Aiden, Carbo, Cat Rambo, I'll come back to the players in a minute, Commander Root, Craigery, what's up Craigery, Dinu, Flagship, Kongu, Gigafrost, Greenford Studio again, Harlequin, Light and Passion, Live Suing, thank you to Lotwook, to Mrs. Dunsel, Silly Gnome, Tauntaums, U Christensen, Unluckiest Gamer, V&K, Video Store Cowboy, Violets TV, and Virgo Praz, and a special thanks today to my wonderful players. Thank you again to Johnny Pittman, to Cat Rambo, to Carlos Hernandez, and to Zach Clay for being awesome people and players and friends. Thank you all so much for making a great campaign, and thank you to you in chat for being here while we were doing it. Finally, thanks to Alligator Alley for sponsoring us in this campaign as well. Stick around for the raid, and I will see you lovely folks tomorrow for some Inkle Sorcery 3. Later tonight, I guess. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common. The Crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw Saurian, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.